Welcome to the March 20th, 2023 regular business board meeting of the Lower Merion Board of School Directors. The board believes it is in its best interest and the best interest of the students of the district to hear comments from district residents. An opportunity will be given later in the meeting for public comment both in person and through the chat feature, which will be read by our solicitor. This meeting is being live streamed and video recorded with sound for public broadcast. All participants joining via the webinar will need to use the chat feature, which will be enabled during audience recognition. So before we begin our meeting tonight, I want to take a moment and acknowledge the... Okay. Before we start our meeting this evening, I wanted to acknowledge that Mr. Mooring is joining us via telephone conference call. So he is part of our meeting this evening. But I also wanted to take a moment and acknowledge the incidents of racism and anti-Semitism in our schools that was in the Inquirer and addressed by Ms. Schaefer. As already shared, the incident was reported to the police. The student was dealt with appropriately, and the targeted students received immediate support from school administrators. It is difficult and disheartening to acknowledge that racism and racist acts and anti-Semitism continue to happen throughout our community, not only in our schools. We must, as a community, embrace this reality and work to rectify it. To that end, the board, administration, and schools will continue to address racism and anti-Semitism, both with ongoing programming and education and in policies such as the equity policy and the board's work through the Equity and Anti-Racism Committee. We know we need to grow and continuously strive to create spaces of belonging where students, families, and staff feel safe, valued, and heard. I wanted to pass it over to Ms. Schaefer for a moment to talk about some specific work that's going on.
Thank you for those words, and certainly echo that intent of the district has always been to ensure that we're creating spaces that feel safe and students feel like they belong. Ms. James Coles and I have been talking most recently about these incidents and how we can have a broader conversation about our response efforts so we can be as transparent as possible, generally speaking, with our work and our intent. We've also called upon some experts that are going to help guide that work in the near future. So we are always looking for ways to be more responsive, be more proactive, and certainly be as transparent as we can be in situations like this. So we will be sharing with the community our next steps relative to, like I said, those experts that we've been in contact with, and look forward to communicating that with you in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schaefer. The primary agenda for this evening is the Healthy Start Times, but knowing that our last meeting was quite long and we stayed quite late, I wanted to give our student representatives to the board the opportunity to do their student reports, their committee reports earlier in the meeting, so that if you need to go home and study or just try to get some sleep, you'll have that opportunity. So Ms. Wu.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Lower Merion High School students have been making waves in their respective fields with impressive accomplishments across academics, athletics, and the arts. Junior Blake Gilman and his figure skating partner, Julia Epps, have had a phenomenal year, achieving remarkable results at both national and international competitions. Their outstanding performance at nationals earned them an impressive 8th place finish at the junior level. Along with them, Alexa Connor, another Lower Merion junior, recently won gold and bronze medals in the 100-meter backstroke and 200-meter individually medley, respectively, at the PIAA District 1 Swimming Championships. And recently, senior Xavier Archowski was named to Pennsylvania's roster for the Big 33 Classic, one of the most prestigious scholastic all-star football games in the country. LM has also been an active participant in the National African American Read-In, and they hosted a Blacklit open mic in the library as part of the celebrations. The event was a resounding success, and it promoted literacy as a significant aspect of Black History Month and celebrated African American literature and authors. In the arts, LM students have been recognized for their exceptional music talent, with a pair of students being named to the esteemed All-State Orchestra. Congratulations to junior violist Layla Miller on this extraordinary accomplishment. Additionally, the LM High School Music Department recently hosted an outstanding evening of musical entertainment at the 2023 Lower Merion Jazz Festival. In extracurricular activities, LM students have also been excelling. The Flower Show Club, along with students from Metal Arts 1, 2, 3, and 4, recently attended the Philadelphia Flower Show, with many students placing in the novice category. Recently, LM Asian Culture Club hosted a celebration for Holly, and while LM Players is gearing up to host a performance of Peter and the Starcatcher. This week, LM Players, along with Build On, will be hosting a Thriftapalooza, which is a fundraising event for the hopes of raising funds for the Malala Fund. In addition, LM Mock Trial recently secured a victory at regionals and will be moving on to states. STEM clubs such as LMTSA and Science Olympiad have also been active, with both clubs advancing from the regional level and to prepare for states. This weekend, Dogma competed in the annual Spring Chestnut Hill tournament, and they made LM proud. Next week, LMTSA will be volunteering at the district-wide Girls STEM Night. All in all, it has been an exciting and eventful second semester at LM, with students achieving great things and representing the school with pride. As the semester comes to a close, upperclassmen students will begin to prepare for their AP exams, and seniors will be completing their senior projects. Overall, we look forward to seeing what future accomplishments our talented students will achieve. Another note, a majority of students across LM are excited about the impending decision and eager looking forward to the prospect of attaining healthier start times. As we recognize the potential benefits that such a change could bring to our operations, we remain optimistic and enthusiastic about the possibilities that lie ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wu. Ms. Simmons?
Good evening. Merion has had a very eventful month in the sciences. Merion Science Olympiad won first place overall in the Southeast Pennsylvania Regional at Penn State Abington and earned individual honors in 21 out of the 23 events at the tournament. Vex Robotics team Dalius won Eastern PA Tournament State Championships, as well as also being selected by the judges as the winner of the Excellence Award. Dr. Merion was also able to raise $84,000 over the course of their fundraising. And in athletics, Kate Levinston was named Mainline Girls Athlete of the Week for her achievements in swimming. Author Heather McGee, a New York Times bestselling author and policy advocate, spoke to a large crowd of students in the auditorium about her best-selling book, The Sum of Us, What Racism Costs Everyone and How We Can Prosper Together. And she talked as well about her adaptation for young readers. The Merion Music Department took a trip to Disney, coming back late yesterday night. And senior cellist Pietro Romusi was named to the PMEA All-State Orchestra. Merion Student Council, HSL, Merion Service League, and NHS led a successful food drive for the Ardmore Food Pantry, raising money and filling over 20 boxes with non-perishable items. And then March 14th, which was Pi Day, NHS members thought it would be a great day to promote the collection of their soda tabs, an ongoing community activity, and trade those tabs in for pie. In the future, on the first day of Ramadan, Merion will be hosting a wellness day to promote student wellness and personal growth. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons. So next, I also wanted to offer, if there are any students in the audience who wanted to make public comment, the opportunity to do that now. You can wait if you want, but I just wanted to provide that opportunity so that it doesn't get too late before we get to public comment.
Good evening, members of the board. First, I want to thank you again for the Polo Fields Compromise for plans for... What? Oh, hi, my name is Sam Zanagi. I'm a sophomore at Lower Merion High School. First, I want to thank you again for the Polo Fields Compromise, for your plans for an environmental education center, and I want to implore you to vote yes on healthy school start times. I cannot overstate how incredibly important that is to your students. I am incredibly impressed by how hard you work and how dedicated you are to this community, and I want to know how important it is to me to work with you and not against you. And secondly, I want to ask for your forgiveness for what I'm about to say. I am not the kind of person who likes being angry, but I, today, am angry. I don't get it anymore. First, it was laughable to me to watch a district presentation on the needs of the student body for sports fields, while ignoring the need for a healthy planet. How many times do I have to stand here and say, I don't want to live in a district that knows that environmental degradation will lead to flooding and will hurt our planet and will rob us of access to our histories and our futures, and I don't want to watch you listen to that and say, well, we need to put sports fields somewhere, not there. I'm sick of this. I understand the needs for sports fields, and I understand the problems with busing, and I know that my future has to mean more than that to you. And second, every single interaction that I, or the friends of color, or the queer friends, or other marginalized friends of mine have had with Lmsb administration in the aftermath of bigotry has been 10 times worse than the experience itself. I cannot say that that experience is universal, but I can say that this district has a pattern. As published in Saturday's Philadelphia Inquirer article on Harrington High School, there is no such thing as an isolated incident of racism. You have said that you called upon experts to deal with this today in your presentation, but no, you haven't, because there are no experts on the student experience except students, except the victims that you claim to have given support to, but that are not heard. Your administration is consistently an active barrier to justice and equality within schools, and I need you to hear that. You seem to care more about the image of our district and the privacy of bigoted students than you've ever cared about victims. I have pages written on the things that I wish that you would do, and I am sure next month I will come in my usual smiling self and I will with another modest proposal and beg for you to read it, but tonight I only have one sheet of paper with me, and it is the values page, page 28 of the Lmsb strategic plan, outlining the things that our district supposedly believes in. I don't believe you anymore. I'm done believing you. Please don't be the people that convince me that my faith in humanity is wrong. I am so confident that all of you are good people trying your best. I'm so confident that when I come here that you're listening to me, but you're not acting on anything I'm saying. I really believe in you. I believe in our community, and I believe in the power of local government. But why can't students get the education they deserve? Why aren't students listened to the way that I know that they should be? Thank you for listening to me tonight, and I look forward to continued and extensive collaboration. And I hope sharing my anger with you will not damage how you view me and will not damage future collaboration. And I know that all of you are good people. Act like it.
Thank you for sharing your passion, Sam.
That's our only student.
All right, thank you. So now we'll move on to our presentation.
I'm sorry, I just want to respond to your comments. I'm sorry. Can you remind me your first name again? Sarah, right? Sam, I'm sorry. Thank you. And I want to just acknowledge the experience you shared is not okay. And so while Superintendent Schaefer said we're looking into it, if you're saying even when it's looked into, it is not okay, that is problematic. And so it shouldn't have to take for you feeling upset to be at the podium, and it's noted and it's continuously noted, and we can do more, and that starts with being in conversation. So thank you for your comments tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Shura.
Good evening. I also think it's appropriate that I respond to your comment as well. Before I get started on healthy start times, I certainly don't want that to be your experience or any student's experience here, and I'm sorry that it took you to, come to the microphone tonight and speak from your heart, and I appreciate that you did. Ms. James Coles, who I don't know if you had a chance to meet with her yet, but she's our Director of DEI here in the district, new to us, which means she has a very fresh set of eyes on the work that we do and has immediately, in my opinion, made an impact on how we do things. So, I'd welcome you to have a conversation with us or with Ms. James Coles about your experience, because she's learning as she's going, and so I think your insight would be really particularly important to her. So thank you for your time tonight. I appreciate it. So in terms of moving on to Healthy Start Times, which is on the agenda this evening, we spent a lot of time last Monday night going through a lot of details with respect to feedback and operational items that we've tackled from an administrative perspective. So to start with tonight, I just wanted to go back for those of members of the audience, members that are viewing at home, or community members that are viewing at home, to take just another moment to recap where we've been on our journey around Healthy Start Times, so that we can center on the focus of tonight's evening. Again, why did we spend time looking at changing school schedules? We've long, from a board perspective, from an administration perspective, recognized that the science that we're chasing is about an acknowledgement of the biological changes that youth undergo as they reach their teenage years that changes sleep patterns, for my way of framing it, so that ultimately the guidance that we're seeing from the American Academy of Pediatrics, American Medical Association, and the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, among others, have said that one way we can address the chronic loss of sleep by adolescents is to try to target middle and high school start times so that they begin no earlier than 8:30 a.m. So this science, which there's a lot of research and resources out there that support this look at changing start times, was really grounded our path forward. So that's our why. To refresh recollection, our current schedules look like this. Important to note is that we operate a 3-tier system, meaning that we have high school, middle school, and elementary schools starting at different times, and that's a function of our transportation system. There has to be a certain amount of time between those start and end times. So those are variables that are somewhat fixed. Also, the total time of the school day is a variable that can change when we look at how do we adjust start times to accommodate meeting the recommendations of to benefit students in their sleep. We've come a long way in terms of the research we've done on this subject. We've had a research and development team look at this, give us a lot of different options, sort of take a look nationally at what are ways the other districts have looked to address this issue. And these are different types of options that were examined by different committees. Most notably, our Sleep Health and School Schedules Advisory Committee spent about a year studying all of those different options and engaged in a protocol with a consultant to come up with a recommendation that was offered in 2019, known as the modified reorder. In this case, you can see there was adjustments of the total time of the day. Elementary that started first in this scenario, with high school and middle school following. There was response to this proposed schedule, both positives and some challenges. It addressed that sleep benchmark that we were looking for. At the same time, we heard feedback around concerns from elementary being very early in the morning, concerns about that pickup time, also that elementary students would be home at the end of the day prior to perhaps older siblings that would be responsible for their care. We also heard concerns from the middle school, at the middle school level, about the end time of their day and how that would impact extracurriculars, whether it be sports, theater, other clubs, and then also beyond the school day activities that they would do and clubs that they're involved with that are not school-related. So that was the initial response, and everyone, I will recall that went right into that COVID period, and we shut down. And really, at that time, we reorganized around how do we deliver instruction remotely, and though we were very focused on that, an intervening event that's important is that the board did keep their eye on this goal of changing school start time in October of 2020, positioned high school by vote in that second tier of the three-tiered schedule. So it was, when this change was going to be made, high school was required by virtue of that vote to be in that second tier. So for us administratively, from a district perspective, it became a question of not if, but how and when. So just some visuals there of all of the transitions that have happened since that 2019 time that I think are important from an organizational standpoint. Not only did we work through remote learning, virtual learning, hybrid learning, the impact of COVID just on well-being generally. We've also opened a new middle school, meaning that we have now 11 schools online, whereas we had 10, and we reimagined our structure, not just by opening the middle school, but now we have aligned our elementary at a K-4 configuration and middle school at a 5-8 configuration, and it's still hard for me to believe, but we're still in our first year of that. So we're just settling into those new patterns for us as an organization. So at the beginning of this school year, and actually tagging on to the end of last year, we brought this conversation back for public consumption. And I spent personally a lot of time talking about where do we go from here, where have we been, the history. So we moved forward in light of that history and some of the concerns that that were raised with what we're calling the proposed schedule, which is also known as the secondary swap. And this is the schedule that is in front of the board this evening, the one that we've spent a lot of time getting feedback on. And the features, as probably everyone knows, but are that middle school is starting in that first tier with a start time of 8 a.m., no change to the length of the school day. High school in that second tier at 8:40, a 20-minute decrease to the school day, and elementary in the third tier with a start time of 9:20 and a 10-minute increase to their school day. Again, that allows for all of the variables that we need to fit into that equation, including the transportation time. So just by way of reference, that you see that proposed schedule as compared to the current schedule, and then you see that 2019 schedule that I referenced against the other two schedules, again, for your reference. As I mentioned, and as I hope everyone knows, we've engaged in some extensive opportunities for soliciting feedback in various ways over the last 4 to 6 weeks. We've hosted listen and learn sessions. We've had an email account, sleep@lmsd.org, that has been available since we announced the proposed schedule in January. Currently, and I'll touch on this in greater detail, approximately 725 emails were analyzed. We had a survey with over 8,000 respondents, which we looked at in a little bit greater detail last week. And then we also had some on-site surveying that we were doing to try to engage more individuals in completing the survey, which you see some results reflected there. So again, we covered a lot of the feedback in our last meeting. We see that there are, with the preliminary feedback, some strong voices in both the pro and against columns for this particular proposal. The feedback themes that we saw, or Dr. Paul saw in the emails that we received, again, about 725 across parents, faculty, staff, and students, as well as some community members. Are categorized here, and I know there's a lot of words This is, again, so that it's available for your reference. But there were certainly themes of support for the proposed schedule because it aligns with the science. Support for the start and end times because they achieve the goal of starting no earlier than 8 a.m. for all schools and achieve a later start time for high schoolers while making less dramatic changes, again, as compared to the 2019 schedule for middle and elementary start times, and are perceived to have a less of an impact on after-school activities for middle school students than the 2019 proposal. So there is also support for the implementing the change in fall of 2023. The themes of concern, and the font is smaller, so I'm going to turn to my printout here. The survey data from the research illustrates that there are a number of the breadth and scope of negative impacts because of the schedule change does not account for the perspectives of families with young children who were not yet students in the district, and so they were not part of that survey data. We've noted that previously, just given the scope and timing that we had. The survey was issued to current district families, and it's not hasn't been fully analyzed, reported, or considered to date. I noted that the last time that we don't have the final analysis of those results, but we also were told by Hanover that given the sample size, they were unlikely to see significant variability, but we know that we don't have sort of the segmented data that is going to be available to us in the future. Also anticipating the negative effects of the schedule changes on faculty and staff, the time burdens for commuting, the additional financial burdens for new needs for childcare, and the availability to continue after-school commitments, including coaching, activity sponsorship, and secondary employment opportunities. The other anticipation of negative effects from implementing the change too quickly. So a notice of a theme that the strain on the change on teachers and students following the several years of change that we've experienced. Again, enough time to plan for childcare needs and enough time to develop feasible solutions to mitigate all of the challenges that we've noted prior to implementation, and especially with the note of the Montgomery County Technical School. So by level, we see some of those concerns pronounced at the elementary in different ways. The burden of, for elementary specifically, the child care, given that the schedule starts a bit later than the current schedule, and concerns about finding that care. Learning fatigue in the late afternoon for our earliest learners came up as a theme. The timing of breakfast for participants in our free and reduced lunch program. And just to clarify, that would still be free and reduced lunch, and that breakfast program would still be offered, but we believe this theme is associated with the concern that it would just be offered later, as opposed to not at all. So I just wanted to clarify that as it had come up. Behavioral concerns, I think that ties into that learning fatigue late in the day, concerns that that will impact learning because of the lateness of the school day for elementary. The timing of dismissal, after-school bus commutes pushed later into the afternoon, and safety concerns that come with increased traffic and decreased daylight. So we showed some of those examples of what those commute times or drop-off times would be later in the afternoon at each level. So we know that goes a little bit later with a 4:05 end time. That after-school activities are pushed later into the evening. Again, we recognize and acknowledge that for elementary students, they do have after-school activities, and we're seeing some of that as a theme. And then community-based activities, lessons, therapeutic services, et cetera, that would be impacted by a later dismissal time for elementary. At the middle school level, we saw that there were some concerns expressed about the fact that it doesn't meet that recommendation of 8:30 at the middle level, given that the proposed start time is at 8 a.m., and some concerns with pickup times in the morning for the middle schoolers, especially those that reside in the Penguin catchment area that attend Black Rock Middle School. Also noted some themes with high school end times because of perceived, again, impact on after-school activities, athletics, employment, and homework commitments. We heard that theme of a concern that those would just be pushed later into the evening, maybe compromising that bedtime, and so those were noted concerns in the emails. And then the order of the 3 tiers, which there were some comments about the transition from elementary school to middle school being fairly dramatic between 4th and 5th grade, so there were some concerns expressed about that tiering. So that's a summary of the email concerns that was presented to us by Dr. Paul. I wanted to jump back just briefly to touch on for the community piece. We've done a lot of work to be positioned to operationalize a change next year. We've reported out on what are some remaining challenges, some things that we still need to continue to work through, what it would look like if we reduce 20 minutes, what it would potentially look like if we add 10 minutes, and so forth, and noting the relative impact of those changes, even though they're mere minutes, they do that's meaningful time for either our teachers to engage in professional learning, to make phone calls, et cetera. So we talked about that, or I've presented about those concerns. But they are things, again, that we can work through and operationalize with the proposed schedule. And so I've arrived to the point where if you have any questions, or if I can elaborate on any of those items for you this evening, I'm happy to do so.
Thank you very much.
I just wanted to clarify on the order we're doing things. Right now, we're just going to ask questions, and then we'll move on to our committee reports, and then we'll vote later. Or
right, after we'll have public comment first.
Okay, thank you. So making motions would be after public comment?
After public comment,
Okay,
correct.
thank you.
Just wanted to open if anyone had questions. Ms. Schrack?
Thank you. So thank you, Superintendent Shaver, first for facilitating this process and taking the time to gather the feedback and also present the feedback that was done previous to COVID. In looking at your operational status in particular, you named quite a few issues here. My question is, if given an additional year, do you feel that there would be nuance or more creativity to be able to mitigate against some of these concerns that is responsive to the feedback trends that you named previously?
I'm answering this just from an operational perspective, and putting the science aside, putting the fact that I'm a mom of 2 teenagers and I understand the impact of this. Operationally, there are a couple of things that I'd like to put out that I recognize, in my capacity and in the work that I've been doing and reading the feedback and addressing some of the challenges. There is a compounding stress on the organization from the many changes that we've been through over the last few years. We hear that, we see that in outcomes with staff who may leave, may choose to leave, may not be committed to things that we saw previously, such as extracurricular support, et cetera. So I worry about the stress on the organization. That said, operationally, I think that given more time, some of the things that we haven't solved for yet will get solved. We will have time to communicate those resolutions to things such as the challenges with, for example, runs that happen at the same time as our normal runs that go, the transportation runs that go to schools and get kids from home to school, and at the same time we're running to schools outside of the community, et cetera. So I feel that we would have a better sense of how that will all be operationalized and what the relative impact is on families. I'll give an example. We have potentially the ability to share transportation runs far in advance of what we do now in the future, given time to do that. And one reason that that's important is because some families, because of the reverse order, may find that their child's bus run was 10 minutes this year, and under a new scenario, maybe 40 minutes. So they may not be ready for that kind of change, and by having some time for implementation, we would be able to try to provide those schedules well in advance of when we do now, so that families are aware and can prepare. So that would be something we could do in a future year. We just don't have the time to do that. So that, again, we think that because, and I'm speaking right now, this is a polarized issue. We saw that in the response to the survey, and I think that regardless of where this ends up in terms of order, because as I've always said, it's not if, it's how and when, that those that feel that they are negatively impacted by it, if they have time to make adjustments and can plan accordingly, it will be easier for us to settle in as a system, and I think it's easier for staff and family to adjust to a change that they may otherwise be opposed to. So I think from several vantage points, having a little more time is a benefit from an operational standpoint.
And can I presume, Ms. Schaefer, in attending the sessions and reading through the feedback from 2019 that the district proactively got with teachers, and then our feedback this round from teachers, can I presume that with additional time you would also be able to work in partnership with administration and with teachers in a way that would support and create more stability to the challenge that you named?
Well, I think anytime we can provide more opportunity for voice and choice and agency in a process, the more buy-in that you have to that change. I've used the example before of our K-8 transition. That was a lot of transition for families and for staff, and we took time to understand what choices or what preferences our staff had, and gave an opportunity for that feedback as we considered the changes that we needed to make and the moves that we needed to make. And we did that in the fall prior to the implementation. So having those opportunities, because it wasn't just about hearing their voice, but where we saw there were challenges, having that individualized attention to the person that might be negatively impacted was, I think, important, and I think did result in a relatively smooth transition overall.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shurak. Mr. Mooring has a question.
Thank you. Ms. Schaefer, I wanted to raise the question of, well, number one, thank you and the administration for all of the work. I know this is a hugely complex issue that we are all continuing to try and wrestle with. One of the questions I had is that I know the current time that we're in schools is in terms of providing instruction is above the state minimum. And I'm wondering if we've looked at shortening the day in beyond kind of the 10 to 15 minutes, or is that an issue? Because I know there's also a lot that we have in our days around, lunch and learn and the programs at the middle and elementary school where they have those kind of extended break times. And I know that it's also an issue that would require some negotiations with our unions. But have we looked at, or is that adjusting or shortening the days not something that we've paid or looked at as closely because of the potential concerns around impacting academics. In terms of the extended instruction time that we have above what's required, is that factored in based on what we feel is necessary to deliver the excellent curriculum that we deliver at all levels, or is there any room or has there been consideration of shortening the day to try and also mitigate some of these timing factors?
Thank you for the question. I certainly have done a lot of math around how do we do this so that we make this work, between what seems to be the ideal 8 and 4 time range. And so to answer your question, yes, we've certainly played around with what makes this work. If each tier had a 6-hour and 35-minute day, everyone could get in between 8 and 4. That would be a reduction of approximately 35 minutes for our high school right now, for example. And when we went and did the exercise of figuring out how to shave off 20 minutes of the day, we were able to capture most of that in transition time. I think I speak for the leadership of our buildings and our administration to say if we were going to look at taking off more time, that we would really want to have a longer opportunity to study that real impact on the schedule. As a public education institution, I think we value the time that we're given with students. I think it's not outsized by some of our neighboring districts. Most have a day that's longer than the minimum required time. I think there are some wonderful opportunities for us to dig in and say, how do we do we do school a little bit differently now than we did in 2019, knowing what we know and where our students are and the, certainly rapid changes that we're experiencing. I think that's what we want to do under the, refreshing the strategic plan and taking a look at that. But to answer your question, we could go back and take another look at that piece of the puzzle, but I would want to make sure that we're doing it with more stakeholders involved, because our first exercise was just to say, mostly administratively, how can we make this work without it having a big impact on our instructional program? And if we were going to do more than that, I think we would want engagement from students, staff, and families to say, where do we really think, where is that value? Or where do we capture that time and not undermine our instructional program? Did I
Thank
answer?
you.
Okay.
Thank you. So to follow up on that, so I want to thank you, Ms. Schaefer, and publicly acknowledge that that we recognize that when Dr. Merion was here and sort of learning our district, that you really took charge and you brought this issue back to the forefront of the work going on in the district and the administration. So I really want to thank you for that, and mostly to acknowledge that I appreciate your understanding of the importance of the issue. So based on that last answer and sort of, understanding that there's no one, given our constraints, that there's no one order, no one solution that is perfect, right? That if we're looking for opportunities to mitigate some of the challenges that either an earlier start or the late end, that another year to have time to operationalize that, so that, over the next few months, you can make a recommendation on these. We could shorten the days of the different levels this way, and then take that year to figure out what that actually looks like within that shortened day. Is that a fair understanding of what you just said?
Yeah, I'd like to just be intentional about making those changes that might involve taking more time off of our instructional day. And when typically, when we go through a process like that we're making a schedule change. I mean, we worked on the middle and elementary schedules for over a year, so I don't take that lightly, and that investment of time is really, something that we thought was important to the process and is important to outcomes for kids. So that's an example of where we, would want more time to do that.
And that process did include, having that time for that process provided the opportunities to have parents involved and teachers involved in it, and not sort of just looking at it from the top and saying this is where we could make some changes. It really offered an opportunity for more engagement in various different levels of stakeholders. And that's one of the things that I really feel like we've heard throughout this process is the importance of the engagement, the importance of understanding what the concerns are and thinking of different ways to mitigate what those concerns are. So I just wanted to add that. Any other, or Ms. Kalish?
Hi, thanks. My question is around why the administration is changing the proposed 2019 order that was determined by a committee of administrators and staff and community members and parents. And I'm curious if that change was based solely on the feedback we got then. And I'm curious if you feel that the feedback we've received from the staff and our constituency on this current proposed order is reflective of one order or another.
So, again, because I spent a lot of time talking about this throughout the fall, the 2019 schedule was something that we were still talking about and weighing two different options. We knew that there had been some feedback from the 2019 schedule, which admittedly was a different set of feedback with different stakeholders involved at the time. And I think the idea was to take a look at an alternate schedule and see whether there would be, a different type of feedback given, knowing that we weren't going to come up with a perfect solution, but hearing some of the concerns around the elementary schedule being earlier or very early, that there wouldn't be caregivers available. I mentioned this earlier, and the impact that might have for middle school students. So we were looking to try to problem solve that, and so that's where we ended up with this particular schedule as a way of getting feedback. I'm sorry, did I? I thought I heard something.
So, no, and so just to follow up, I wonder if you feel like the feedback that you've gotten from staff and the feedback that we've gotten through Hanover and through the Sleep at Lmsd and to our community comments and to our individual board members, if you feel like that feedback we've gotten this time is reflective more of the recommendation that the administration is putting forward or more in line with the 2019 schedule?
Are you asking across the board or staff specific? I'm sorry, I may have missed the part of the question.
Both pots. Okay. Not across the board, but your sort of impression of community feedback and I understand that nothing is unanimous.
As a lawyer, I just wouldn't answer that question, but I appreciate it. And I'll try to, I think, respond at least. The perspective, one perspective I have is that I know that the advisory committee, their second runner-up schedule was status quo. So I had some questions about why was it status quo as opposed to another schedule, and that's why we invited the advisory committee back to get some feedback around this proposed schedule. I think the feedback is different now. I also think, and I've said this before, we're really in a different place than we were in 2019 as a result of those intervening events that have occurred. So I don't know if that's changing how people are feeling about it. I think all things considered, most people don't like change, so they're going to resist, it no matter what we do. And I think, again, we were looking for ways to problem solve some of the challenges that were identified with that first scenario by offering this alternative scenario. And it would really, I feel like it's comparing apples and oranges a little bit to describe the feedback from 2019 and the current feedback.
I'll be blunt and not lead the witness in that my concern is that the board as a whole, that we have reacted to the intense feedback that we got in 2019, and that my concern is that the current schedule is in reaction to that. So that is, for transparency's sake for the public, that was what I was trying to get at. Thank you.
Do we have other, Ms. Garrison?
Thank you. Ms. Schaefer, I had a question in reference to the feedback, because we keep talking about the feedback, but what percentage of the population actually participated in the feedback and the whatchamacallit?
The survey data?
The survey, exactly.
So just doing some rough percentages, we had 8,000 respondents. We had about 4,000 students responded, which I would say is a high percentage of our secondary students. I don't want to put a precise figure, but over 50%, well over 50% of our secondary students. If that, we haven't done the final analysis, but just that statistically speaking, then we had, I think, 2,000 or so parents and guardians that responded.
What's our total parents and guardians?
I just estimate probably around 16,000
Okay,
plus.
so 16,000, but 2,000 participated.
That's, on the survey piece.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Ms. Schreck?
Back to the elementary schedule and the timing. In our previous meetings, we've discussed the need for focus specifically on academics and the trend lines we've seen in the data, specifically in elementary through middle, as well as some concerning trends that mirror national challenges. In thinking of the elementary schedule, just wondering thoughts of the current proposal, and would want to understand how the administration is thinking about using that schedule to support some of the needs that have been identified through the previous presentations on academic and social emotional needs.
Yeah, I think there are people that are much better positioned than I am to answer that in the weeds. But I do, as I made that comment last time, the question about, what is the impact on elementary? Does it get compounded by the change in schedule? And for me, that's a question mark. I know we are doing a lot of work to rebuild and shore up what we're doing at all levels, and specifically at elementary, and whether it be framed by MTSS or other strategies is certainly something that we have a lot of attention on right now. So I would say, regardless of the schedule, that has our attention. And more of a wondering for me, is there more of an impact on that because of the schedule?
Any other comments, questions at this time? No. All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Schaefer. We are now going to go on to our committee meeting reports. I can quickly, we already did our student reports. Ms. Stotner, Dr. Stotner, can you do the anti-racism and equity and anti-racism report, please?
Sean is on the phone, so I'll help him out and read briefly the report from our Equity and Anti-Racism Committee meeting on February 22nd at 7 p.m. I suggest everybody check out the PowerPoint that goes along with this committee meeting, because there are probably 20 different acronyms for all the groups that were engaged in that meeting. They're really powerful groups. It was a really fantastic meeting going around, and it really was kind of an up-to-date. Ms. James Coles kicked us off and really wanted to show all the work that is being done with different groups and give everybody kind of a framing of how these groups were started, what is their impact to date, and then what are some steps to move forward. So just snippets from each of the groups that presented. It's the DEIB update First, that was from Shawana James Coles, and shared that one of the key things that she is doing throughout the entire district is really going into schools and supporting the students, the teachers, the admin, and what she's seeing is a change in tenor to conversations that they have and engagement that they do. So there is a desire to learn and support the students at the schools, from the administration, from the teachers, and they're asking more questions, the school leadership, they're asking for more supports, and they're really pulling her into the dialogue more and more. And please correct me at any point if I get anything wrong. It feels weird saying it to you while you were there. She's also focused on ensuring that teachers, as well as other leaders, are receiving training from outside experts in this area as well, bring them into the school and understanding and learning best practices outside of the school. Their work is really looking to make it a safe place and build belonging in every single school, and what that looks like in each school may be different. Mr. Hall, Victorious Hall, shared a quick update from CARE. One of the big themes that we pulled from his update was the theme of this year is, of course, belonging, but what does that look like in Lower Merion School District? What does that look like for our students, our community, and our people directly? And the goal is to think about that work and then to act on that work. And Sam, a little bit of this is kind of what you were bringing up earlier, but then to inform the policy that changes our district at every level. He did reiterate that this work is on a long road path and it needs to continue to build, that he has seen it move forward, but that work is going to need to continue, and it is a lot of work that needs to get done. BASIS and GSIB was updated by Jeannie Stanley. This work has been going on since 2010. Cultural humility work has grown across the country, but also in our district. And the work in that committee both of those committees is really looking at listening, educating, and taking action. They began with focus groups on the middle school and high school level. They surveyed all the staff. Where do they need to step in? Prevention work and support individuals for their own growth as well as students' growth. Another update came from EDI update. That was Alexis McGloin doing that work, and shared that there will be 4 white papers that come out soon for us to review, and potentially a curriculum on March 29th and the April board meeting. Alexis, is that right? Good, go. Okay, last but not least, Mrs. Schaefer did an update on the wellness policy and really understanding and looking at the wellness policy and the work that's going on the policy committee, which Vanna might have an update for as well. 2 final other pieces. The next meeting will probably be rescheduled at a different time, but we're looking towards the end of April. One thing that was brought up during the meeting was Ms. Seltzer shared questions about these programs sound fantastic, but how are we really measuring the impact, and to what end and what impact are we making? And that was something that the entire group agreed with and wanted to understand, what do we really mean by taking action and where will we see that work? And I think that was reflected in the comments shared tonight, and the work needs to move with haste and with action. Shawana, is there anything you wanted to add?
Just thank you for that. I had to write some things down, and I just want to, I try not to say a lot in meetings because I'm engaging and I'm listening, and I was taught, you don't always have to say things, but I am listening and I do hear what the community is saying. So I want you to know, from me, it is not okay for families and students to feel we are not listening or acting. I did not respond initially because I didn't want the community to feel that I was devaluing them by coming up with a response. I do understand the hurt that is occurring in the district, and I do hear the disenfranchised as I go to community meetings, as I sit in spaces. As a person of color who has experienced racism in my 52 years of life, the voices and outcry have not fallen on fallow ground. I am working diligently on 2 fronts. So this work is 2 fronts. One, addressing concerns as they arise. So that's when I'm in schools, and if something happens, being ready to act But then I'm also building systems so that we can foster and honor belonging and valuing dignity. I wholeheartedly recognize that there is room for us to grow. That's why I spent the beginning of our meeting saying that when I was a principal, people knew the job of a principal, but when you're the DEI director has many meanings in many districts. So trying to frame what this work is has been the crux of what I've been doing for the past few months. And I do recognize that this is not a position that you could sit in an office, which is why even tomorrow morning I'm at a faculty meeting speaking to staff. And I do interact with students. I hear their stories. They reach out to me. They email me. And anytime a student has asked to speak with me, I have cleared my schedule and gone and spoken with the students and families as well. I want for our students to feel that there is a safe learning environment, and I want people to feel that they can show up as their authentic selves. And so this is grounded. Right now we're just getting the qualitative, right? So there may not be numbers. We can't give you a number to this, but I can give you the number to the number of meetings that I've had, the number of conversations that I've had. And again, I don't take it lightly. It is very serious. And I know that Sam said that there are no experts, but there are people who research this. There are people who spend their lives, their days and nights, and those are the people that I'm grateful that I have connections with, people who can help me along as I help the district along, because this is not one person's job. This is all of our collective, the board, the faculty, the administration, the community, the families. It's not just Shawana Coles. It's all of us trying to make sure that our students have a better place and that we can leave this place better than it was for us. And so for as long as I'm in this seat, I'm giving you my heart. I'm giving you everything that I have in me. And then when I leave this space, I want to make sure that I've done something to make Lower Merion better for our students. So if I don't always respond, it's just because I'm just soaking it in and I'm listening and I'm planning and plotting in my head of what my next move is going to be. So thank you for your time and thank you for that report.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next meeting report is the curriculum committee meeting.
The March 1st Curriculum Committee meeting had two presentations. First, we reviewed and recommended for approval two new texts, Elementa for 5th and 6th grade and Subarani for 6th grade through high school level 2. Those are new Latin texts. I wanted to make note of the fact that I thought they were really interesting texts. They had it was sort of styled like a graphic novel, and it seemed really engaging. It had a lot of, I really appreciated, when I was in high school, language texts often had a lot of white people with blonde hair and blue eyes, and that's probably not who would necessarily have been speaking Latin, and so there was a lot more diversity of the faces you were seeing in those books, and also our teachers who reviewed them said that they were much more engaging and successful curricular examples. Next, we had an in-depth presentation on the status of MTSS implementation district-wide. In the interest of brevity, I'm going to direct everyone who's interested to review the recording and the PowerPoint presentation, which can be found on board docs through the district website, because it was a very long, in-depth presentation. The next meeting I wanted to note will be March 29th for the April CCOB meeting, because we have spring break and I'm not going to be here on Passover, so neither will you. So if you are interested, it will be not this coming Wednesday, the following Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. in this room.
Thank you, Ms. Kalish. And then just a quick follow-up that the MTSS presentation will be presented to a full board meeting, I think in April or May. Normally we would have done it this month. But we had all the sleep. We didn't need to add on another, and we didn't want it to get sort of short shrift. So that we'll do that presentation in May. So thank you. Ms. Robinson, a quick policy committee update.
I'll be very brief. The next meeting is going to be March 31st, which is before spring break. We went over policy 832, cybersecurity and data breach responses. We went through policy 604, tax and waiver requests. These two policies are scheduled for adoption this month. The following policies were reviewed for a first reading: 114, individual supports and services; Policy in AR 121, field trips and class trips for review only. Policy in AR extracurricular and co-curricular activities, and policy in AR 136, home education. We also went through the administrative regulations of individualized student services and supports, Section 504 compliance. We had for discussion student rights and responsibilities, policy in AR 235, policy in AR 246, discriminatory harassment, bullying, and hazing, which is going to be added to, I believe, 235. And the student wellness program, we received an update. Again, our next meeting is March 31st. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. And our final committee report, last but not least, our facilities and purchasing.
Thank you. I'm sure everyone's eager to get to your comments, so this is an unusually short facilities and purchasing committee meeting. The following items were discussed by the committee at the March 16th Facilities and Purchasing Committee meeting, recommended for approval by the full board tonight. We recommended the list of district bills for approval. We reviewed and discussed the purchasing report. There was one item from the purchasing report that was tabled. The purchase of a second Sandstar infield groomer from Lawn and Golf Supply for $29,206.06 will be reviewed at a future committee meeting. We recommended the following items from the purchasing report for approval. $15,864.03 from TP Trailers for the purchase of a CarMate custom cargo trailer for use for the landscaping team. $15,115.68 from Outdoor Power Equipment for a replacement Kawasaki zero-turn mower. $27,914.65 from Johnson Controls to upgrade the building HVAC automation systems at Harriton High School and Lower Merion High School to a supported version of the software. $16,227.10 from Tremco for masonry repairs at Belmont Hills Elementary. $546,484.91 from Tremco for roof repairs and coating at the Operations Department warehouse and office building on Rock Hill Road. $152,317.17 of that total is for the office. $394,167.74 is for the warehouse. $19,009.87 from Sportsman's for new football uniforms for Harriton High School. We recommended the following district contracts for approval. New contracts with the following. Villanova University for the use of their recently purchased boathouse for the Harriton High School crew team. This is the same facility currently being subleased by the team from Villanova. This agreement is a $0 lease for the remainder of this school year. A new lease is expected for next school year. E+ for maintenance and service of HVAC cooling units in the Lmsb data center for $11,502.18. Crown Castle for installation and 120 months of fiber internet connection for $7,800 a month. Part of these costs are expected to be reimbursed through the federal E-rate program. Turf Tank for rental of a robotic field liner to automate the lining of Lmsd fields. This is a 6-year agreement at a total cost of $97,700. LMSD is party to an agreement between Lower Merion Township and property owners with frontage on Landfair Road, where the township agrees to snowplow and salt Landfair Road between Cherry Lane and Anton Road. Hands Up Education for purchase of new Latin 1 and Latin 2 textbooks previously approved by the Curriculum Committee at a total cost of $50,028, which I'm glad they're going to be more interesting than the Latin textbooks I got to use, where we learned all about Caesar's Gallic Wars. Renewals with the following. Image Tech for license and support for Knowledge Lake software for $20,715.80 used for bulk document scanning. Image Tech for license and support for Nintech software at $18,753.52 used for online data form creation and management. Work orders with Presidio Network Solutions for purchase and installation of upgraded wireless access points to upgrade the wireless network at district buildings for $805,119.24. Part of the costs are expected to be reimbursed through the federal E-rate program. We recommended the following change orders for Black Rock Middle School approval. 2 change orders for IMC construction, $24,506.84 for unsuitable soil removal and replacement with stone during the construction of the tennis courts, $1,220.76 for reframing and tile board in the toilet room. 1 change for Vision Mechanical, a back charge of $6,721.62. That's a credit we'll be taking for canopy drainage work that was not needed for the choral room. A reduction of $70,000 to a construction change directive for Gessler Construction for topsoil remediation at the entrance and traffic signal of Black Rock Middle School. Lastly, we received an update on the construction of the new middle school. School is open, work continues on construction closeout and punch list items. The biggest remaining project is final surfacing of the running track, which will occur this summer after the school year ends. There are $89,240 in forecasted future change orders. There are $2,100,685 in claims made by contractors, and $565,666 in claims made by Lmsb, which will be resolved through dispute resolution process between the district and the contractors. Including all disputed claims, the total project cost is $105,961,104, which is higher than the $101,563,038 projected cost at the time of contract award, but is less than the $114,062,616 original construction estimate. To date, there have been $4,962,911 in total change orders on the construction project, the bulk of which have come from 4 causes. $2,176,971 in change orders resulting from additional work related to soil excavation and site preparation. $637,843 in change orders resulting from omissions or errors made by the architectural firm in the building design. $1,012,440 in change orders resulting from omissions or errors made by professionals and subconsultants related to building design. $613,511 in change orders from Lower Merion School District requests. The next Facilities and Purchasing Committee meeting will be on Thursday, April 13th, 2023 at 8:30 a.m. in this room. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Next on the agenda would be the addition of additional agenda items, which is not happening. We don't have any additional agenda items this evening. So let's move to audience recognition. At this time, we will hear public comment. If you would like to speak at tonight's meeting and have not yet signed up with Ms. LaPera, please do so now. For those of you joining us via the webinar, the chat feature will now be open and you'll see a 10-minute timer appear on your screen. You can submit your comments and/or questions via the chat feature. Please be sure, both in person and via chat, to begin with your full name and where you reside within the district. It can be general neighborhood. It does not need to be an exact address, but that's important for your comment to be shared. Ms. LaPera, I know we do have public comments for tonight's meeting. I think she's just waiting to grab the list that people are signing up on. Mm-hmm.
Sorry. I'm sorry, did you ask a question? I was answering a question.
I mean, we're just waiting for Ms. LaPera to get the list.
Okay. There are no chats yet.
Okay, sorry about that. We have Amy Knorr, Lisa Prosnitz, Renee Tobin, and Indira.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for bringing this proposal forward. My name's Amy Knorr. I live in Penn Valley. I've been actively involved in this Healthy Start Time effort for over 10 years, from bringing Dr. Judith Owens, who was the lead author of the American Academy for Pediatrics policy statement urging secondary schools to start at or after 8:30 a.m. That was in August 2014, but we're ahead of the game, and we, the district and the ISC, brought her to speak here at Lower Merion's auditorium in March 2014. I led the 2015 ISC Task Force on Start Times and the 2015 Student Sleep Survey, which I referenced last week, and I served on the 2019 and 2022 District Sleep Health and School Schedules Advisory Committee. I say all that because my 3 children have graduated from the district in 2012 and 2014, and I have no personal stake in this decision, other than my deep concern for the mental and physical health and welfare of our students. I strongly support the current proposal that I believe should be implemented this September. We collectively have waited for 24 years. I've said before, I feel like our district has collectively put its head in the sand for all this time while our students suffer year after year, and the district didn't start listening until a few years ago, and now there's been a tremendous amount of effort, and whatever tweaks might be made to help with the transition should not be at the expense of the 3,000 high school students who each and every year suffer from tremendous sleep deprivation. They need, I know this has all been said before, but it can't be said enough. They need 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night. They get at most 7. This 2015 sleep survey is just a treasure trove of information, mirrors national data. They get an average of 2 hours less sleep a night than they need to function well, to learn well, to function mentally and physically. By the end of the week, we're talking about a 10-hour sleep deficit for our 3,000 high school students on average. And this just can't be put off another year. My kids have long since graduated, but we have these kids suffering day after day, and there's just they're not even scales. They are not even scales. We finally have to put this first. I want to just respond quickly to a couple of things. Ms. Schaefer, when you mentioned the current schedule was the second option in the 2019 committee, it was given to us as an option we had to consider. We knew it was never a viable option. That's the whole reason we were there. And Ms. Kalish, when you mentioned, is this current proposed schedule a reaction to negative feedback from 2019? My view, having been served on both committees, is it's a schedule that minimizes changes to middle and elementary schools while providing a transformative 70-minute delay in high school start time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Norris. Thank you, Amy. God, it's amazing to look around this room. Lisa Prosnitz, Penn Valley. As I was getting ready to leave my house tonight, I told my youngest daughter that tonight was the school board vote on start times. She said to me, "So are these the people that are deciding my future?" I hope they vote yes, because I don't want to wake up at 5:45 next year. I really hope that you vote yes for 2023. It's a good plan. You guys have done a ton of work, and it's a schedule that has worked well in other communities. And I was going to make the same point of clarification as Amy, that the status quo was never on the table for us as the task force. Like, it was not something that any of us were comfortable with. I appreciate the update tonight in the presentation. What wasn't addressed, though, were the real benefits for our many students. And I know I wrote several emails highlighting those, and I know many people in this room also did. And I want to know where those comments are, because what I didn't hear you talk about were our children's stories, talking about the reduced anxiety and depression that they'll experience, suicidal ideation, risk-taking behavior, self-harming behaviors, risk for obesity, improved attendance, less tardies, missed days, fewer injuries, concussions, better moods, etc. All issues that are happening here in Lower Merion school districts, and our kids are begging for help. They did it in the 2015 ISC study. They did it in the Challenge Success Survey. They did it in the PAYS data. We know our kids are suffering, and I hear all these problems, but I don't hear you guys talking about all of the wealth of benefits that our kids are going to get with a change in start times. And I know it's a logistical challenge, but we've got 6 months. Radnor was able to implement this in 5. So, you've got a room full of people here who have a ton of faith in you. I hope you have it in yourselves. We really, really support you and hope you'll vote for this for 2023. I guess in my last minute, one thing that I did want to also ask for was that you continue really start educating our students and parents on these benefits, because for an implementation to go really well, our students need to understand not only will they sleep more, but what these benefits are that they will experience. We have a nationally recognized health and wellness speaker in this room. We have an amazing sports psychologist in Lower Merion who could speak with our coaches and our students. These are programs that are essential, and I really think that it would benefit everybody if we could start implementing them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Prosnitz. Evening. I'm Renee Tobin. Besides being a resident of Bryn Mawr and a parent of a Black Rock Middle School student, I'm also a tenured full professor and department chair of psychological studies and education. And I want to talk a little bit as a social scientist and a professor of psychology. Psychologists have long been focused on identifying ways to change behavior. Social psychologists in particular examined whether attitudes could predict someone's behavior or choice. For example, if you asked someone if how they felt about buying eggs from free-range chickens, then those that said they support free-range chicken farming would then buy eggs from free-range chickens. What they found instead is that attitudes don't predict behavior or even feelings when it comes time to choose. So people who said that they were strongly in favor of buying free-range chicken eggs just bought what they found most affordable, even if they expressed strongly positive attitudes about buying free-range eggs. Why do I bring this up? Because the survey that was administered was at best a flawed survey assessing attitudes. People say what they say, but at the end of the day, they will choose on the basis of something else, not necessarily the science that they say that they agree with. Therefore, when considering a policy that causes serious physical and mental harm, attitude responses have little value when it comes to doing what's right, which is what is supported by science. Contrast attitudes and opinions with what we have scientific evidence for. No student should be starting school before 8 a.m., especially not adolescents. Their behavior, their lived experiences are telling us that it's harmful. We're at this point of voting again because you understand that what we're forcing adolescents to do is unacceptable. We cannot let attitudes about potential change stop us from doing right by them. Yikes. The science doesn't support attitudes as a basis for decision-making. It does support changes in school time, start times. Sleep experts have been telling our community this since 1999, and the evidence grows stronger annually. And waiting another year to admire the problem or make it more palatable is unacceptable for our youth who need relief now. The district has demonstrated that they can respond quickly to an urgent public health issue. It's time to do it again. Let's recall that full-day kindergarten will be next year's business. We need to finish this year's business. Healthy start times. So please, vote yes to change an unacceptable situation in our district.
Good job. Keep going.
It's time.
Thank you, Dr. Tobin.
Hi, I'm Indira Gurubhagavatula. I am an associate professor at Penn, a sleep specialist. I've been nominated to be on the board of directors for the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. I have a master's degree in public health from Harvard, and I'm a parent of 2 children, one who graduated and is a sophomore in college, and I have an 8th grader. I am surprised by the weight given to an unscientific poll. Referring to 8,000 respondents is inaccurate. There's a difference between the word respondents and responses. Teachers, students, parents, community members, how do you know that that's who took the survey? Just because they pushed a button doesn't make it so. You don't have a way of measuring whether each response belongs to a unique individual or to a bot. Some of the questions were changed during the survey. And who wasn't able to access it? So the people who can't afford computers or have internet or a smartphone or work long hours, the sleepiest high school students who might have fallen asleep before they could respond, all those large numbers of people who are probably fine with this but just didn't feel bothered to respond. Surveys like this are inherently limited Responders may be compelled by misunderstandings of the science or rumors or speculations or personal concerns about what the results could mean for them or a Facebook post. In the listening sessions I attended, there was a huge amount of support for the proposal, and that's not reflected in these slides. Opinions change, as we are seeing from the 2019 proposal to now. A different set of parents are going to be upset every year. But the science is consistent, and it keeps pointing in one direction. The AAP, the CDC, the ASM, and numerous scientific organizations are all saying the same thing, and they didn't cite a popularity vote in their recommendations. They cited hundreds of scientific publications that they used as the backbone of these recommendations. These data are not ever-changing personal opinions. They represent a synthesis of a large body of relevant scientific data. The proposed change that the alignment that you have, the proposal you have aligns with so many of these recommendations. Most importantly, no school goes before 8, high school after 8:30. You're minimizing disruption to other schools. You finally can lead here. When we looked at where the start time and end times are for the high school, we're way out to the right. If you do this, you will lead. Those other schools are going to feel tremendous pressure to follow. You can lead here. You mentioned the compounding effect of stress on employees. What about the compounding stress on students? Week after week, month after month, year after year, trying to survive your abusive schedule. Is waiting another year? It's a vote to extend the abuse. How can you be okay with that? Please vote yes and implement by fall 2023. Not only will you grant them sleep, you will finally have them see that in response to the student who spoke tonight, you do care about them and that they matter. That's what you will tell them by voting yes for fall 2023. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom Burke, David Fetterman, Rami Khalil, Jill Altshuler, Mike Salmonson.
Good evening, school board members. Tom Burke, Merion Station. I have a current freshman at LM and 2 LM graduates. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I fully support the proposed change to healthy school start times for the 2023-2024 school year. While recognizing that the change is not perfect, it is the best alternative to the current school start times considering the logistical constraints on transportation and busing. I believe it does the most good for the totality of the student population with minimal impact on the elementary and middle school students. I would also encourage the board to continue work towards further improvement in subsequent school year start time by collapsing the intervals to 30 minutes, an 8, 8:30, and a 9 a.m. sequence. If you commit to finding additional transportation resources to make that schedule a reality, I believe you would have the 99% solution. A brief anecdote regarding the email survey results. Last week's initial data was presented at the school board meeting. The results appear to show a neutral response regarding middle school change of 15 minutes, a small favorable response for high school, which that's why this effort is here, and a 20-minute start time response for elementary schools elicited a generally negative response. I thought those results looked a little odd. It's just my observation. I have an economics degree from Princeton, an MBA from Drexel, and spent the last 20 years doing data science for the Department of Defense. But I believe my suspicions were actually confirmed this weekend at a social event where the topic of school start times was discussed. Several parents that were acquaintances of mine told me they were encouraged to take the survey despite not having any children currently in the school system. The survey result website was linked on an opposition Facebook page. And my understanding was that the survey was for participants with direct equities, meaning current students. Is that not the case? But yet this very direct effort to sabotage this effort was underway. I don't believe this survey would hold up to serious scrutiny. It appears that a highly vocal subset of interested parties likely skewed those results with regard to the elementary school. In conclusion, as many members have already stated, the science is clear. Asking adolescent teenagers to wake up at 8 a.m. to catch a 6:30 or 6:45 bus is detrimental to their health. We respected the district's decision to trust the science when the schools were closed during the pandemic. We followed mandatory maskings. We got our kids vaccinated. School start time science is clearer and is more evidence-based. Our current high school start times are hurting our kids. It's been nearly a decade of debate. You don't have another year. Please have the insight and the courage to make this decision now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dix.
Hi, everybody. My name's David Fetterman. I live in Penn Valley. From 2015 to 2019, I sat behind that table with Suba, and most people have changed since then, but thank you for your service. And I'm here tonight because I recognize the significance of tonight's meeting, and I want to thank the administration and the board for bringing this proposal for later high school start times to a vote. It is time to make that action real. The science of sleep and the direct relationship between later high school start times and the physical, mental, and overall well-being of students has been well established, and I've been a longtime supporter of making the change that has been proposed for your consideration tonight. You have the opportunity tonight, by approving the proposal set forth, to make an incredible positive impact on all the students in this district. The elementary school students today are going to be high school students in 4 or 5 years or 6 years. At the time that we first were looking at this issue, from 2015 to at least 2019, those kids are long gone and either graduated. My kids graduated high school already. I graduated college. So I have no personal interest on this, although I recognize the importance of it. I do not believe that there's any other single proposal which so squarely aligns with the aspirational goals of the strategic plan as this one. This matter has been thoroughly analyzed, studied, researched, evaluated, reanalyzed, restudied, re-researched, surveyed, resurveyed. The time for study is over. The time for action is now. In essence, this proposal is 3 parts. The main part is high school 70 minutes earlier, right? We all agree with that. 70 minutes later, I'm sorry. Middle school is 15 minutes earlier, 8:15 to 8 o'clock, right? That is insignificant, and anybody that suggests that's a matter of concern is not telling you the truth. That you could do without having meetings. You could make an administrative decision to move middle school from 8:15 to 8 o'clock. Similarly, elementary school is at 9 o'clock now, right? Moving it to 9:20 is 20 minutes. If anybody seriously suggests that that's a significant change that's going to alter their lives in any significant way, they're not telling you the truth. It's not. The fact of the matter is, when you come to a district, right, you have your kids, you sign up for school. They say, well, elementary school is X. High school is X. You don't say, they don't ask you if that's okay with you, right? If you go to Radnor now, it's exactly the same, essentially the same as this proposal. So, as my predecessors have said, you have the opportunity to lead, and the other districts will follow.
Thank you, Mr.
And the
Fetterman.
sports, all those other concerns will resolve themselves. Thank you.
Rami Khalil, Kinwood parent. I represent a large group of K-8 parents who joined a growing WhatsApp group weeks ago. We want the board and everyone else to know that we wholeheartedly believe in the later start time science, and we understand the need for change. We truly do. You're asking us, the K-8 community, to trust you blindly as it relates to 2 key points. 1, you're asking us to believe that the challenge with bus parking and bus drivers cannot be overcome, regardless of resource allocation. We disagree, and I suspect that even some of you believe more can be done. You're asking us, the K-8 community, to trust that the sequence must be MS-HSES, even though the science clearly states that no high school or middle school should start before 8:30. We believe this sequence is the result of the misguided prioritization of an optimal sports and club schedule over the sleep needs of adolescents. So again, you're asking us, the K-8 community, to trust you blindly, despite these reservations. Assuming we as a community are forced to accept these limitations, we ask that we make this change responsibly as a community. Let's not dismiss the serious and valid concerns brought to light by the district's data collection process. Elementary school parents and elementary school teachers are the backbone of this district. Families come to this district for the elementary schools. They stay for the high schools. Our ES teachers deserve not just to be heard, our elementary school teachers deserve not just to be heard, but also considered as we make changes towards progress. To dismiss these changes as change anxiety would be a significant miscalculation, not to mention insulting. Many teachers said they would leave the district if forced to stay so late. 405 is unacceptable. 405 is unacceptable. Neither teachers nor parents feel this is healthy or safe. On the heels of COVID, you cannot ignore these voices and plow forward as is. Please also put yourselves in the shoes of the incoming board members and superintendent. We all saw how unprepared parents and teachers are for this change through the survey results. We all heard how unprepared the district is to operationalize this in 2023. There are more questions than answers at this point. Let's work closely together as a community over the coming year to help parents and the incoming leadership operationalize a solid plan. A plan that can get our most vulnerable families the help they need to mitigate any financial hardships experienced by this change. A plan that gets our youngest kids home at a safe and healthy time. A plan that shows our incredible elementary school teachers that we value them, and that lets them get home to their families at a reasonable time. No one is saying wait for the perfect. Enough with that. We're simply saying do better. Better is not perfect. Better is progress. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Jill Altshuler, Mike Salmonson, Ellen Keefe, Kath Kurtz.
Hi, Jill Altshuler, Merion Station. Going to switch gears a little bit. Hi, administration, board members, and community members. I'm here to talk about a safe learning environment and building belonging and what that looks like based on some of the more recent events and other stories that have been shared over the years. My statement is on behalf of a group of parents concerned about the district's communication regarding situations between students that involve racism, anti-Semitism, and hate directed towards students who identify as LGBTQ+, students with disabilities, and other populations I may not be aware of. Although we realize that certain information is confidential and cannot be shared, we firmly believe that communication to students and families informing them of a situation is critical and needs to be done consistently across all schools. As you know, Mr. Hunter, the principal of Bala-Cynwyd, responded promptly on 2 recent occasions with an email to families in which he stated specific actions that are being taken, such as working with the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion team at BC to again design meaningful school-wide education on these topics. This is one small step administrators can take to instill some level of trust that they are doing work to address these situations with all students. In contrast, regarding the incident at Harriton, it was said that a school-wide email was not sent, quote, because the culprit was quickly identified and disciplined, and the school was able to identify and directly support the individuals impacted, end quote. In addition to the students that were directly impacted, there are likely many students indirectly impacted by what is known as secondary trauma, defined as emotional duress that results when an individual hears about the firsthand experiences of another. In the article written about this situation, an attorney from the Education Law Center made a very good point. Darn it. Quote, that goes so fast for me. There is absolutely no such thing as an isolated incident of racism. Racist behaviors don't occur in a vacuum, and schools should view such incidents as part of a broader climate, end quote. Again, this also goes for incidents of any bullying, harassment, and other forms of hate. Although this does not mean that racism is rampant in our schools, this does mean that we definitely have to address school and district culture and climate. And this is an opportunity for you to engage with all students and their families for this work. And Shawana, I want to thank you. You are doing this work, and we are here to support you the whole way. So please don't feel like this is on you. There's so much more. Here's what we would like to see. Clearly translating policy into a set of values with associated behavioral expectations and consequences when those values are not lived. And share those values with every single stakeholder across the community, and the values must be incorporated and shaped by student voice.
Thank you, Ms.
I'll send you the
Altshuler.
rest.
Mike Salenson from Narberth. My son, who's class of 2020, is listening in by Zoom, or not by Zoom, on the live stream. And this is his response to Ms. Shurak. We recognize it's an issue, but it's not a big enough issue to change now. Let's fail another 600 students. Unquote. Waiting another year will be a failure. Not a failure of ability, but a failure of will. You folks did a remarkable job when COVID turned our world upside down. There couldn't have been a greater disruption to the educational process, and yet we pulled through it, and we had to change our entire educational structure in a matter of 2 weeks. You have 6 months, if you accept this thing tonight, to implement this. You don't need another year. You don't need another year. It will only be a failure of will, not of ability. Every parent in this room who's in favor of start times will lend you all of our talents, all of our energy to educate the community, to do what needs to be done in partnership with you, because we are your allies, not your enemies. I don't have an economics degree from Princeton. I only have a lowly history degree from Princeton. So I will quote from my favorite president, Mr. Abraham Lincoln, who went to General McClellan and said, if you are not going to use the Army, why don't you lend it to me so that I can do so? I respectfully suggest, Ms. Shurak, that if you are not prepared to implement this next year, that you vacate that seat, and I will gladly take your seat in your stead and make sure that we can take it through to the fall. And that goes for any of the rest of you who don't think it's possible to have it implemented in the fall. I will gladly change seats from you. You can sit there, and I will sit there. Now is the time. Mr. Fetterman said it. I was at the school board meeting in 1999 when this came up. I have no dog left in this hunt. My daughter is graduating my youngest child is graduating this fall. We have suffered through 24 years of child abuse. That's what it is. And it is knowing, and it is intelligent, or it is unintelligent rather. And that's what it is. Ms. Garrison said a couple of meetings ago, it's about the kids, their mental health. Everything they've been through COVID and everything else, you're exacerbating it by not changing the start times. You're not making it better. Kids with anxiety, kids with depression can't get out of bed. Kids who don't get sleep are at higher levels of anxiety. The science is clear, Ms. Shurak. Do not wait another year. It is the wrong thing to do, and it is a bad thing to do.
Thank you, Mr. Samuelson.
Ellen Keefe, Kath Kurtz, Ezra Wood, and then Mike Gilboy.
Hi, Ellen Keefe, Penn Valley. Everything he said, and then some of the others too. So my 2 children graduated from the district in 2016, so I no longer have any personal stake in your decision here tonight. However, knowing the science and being concerned about the mental and physical health of our community's students is still actually all of ours, responsibility to advocate for them. I was part of the ISC task force that conducted interviews, explored the possibilities, learned about the hurdles for the district to implement healthy start times way back in 2015. They haven't changed. We didn't learn anything between 2015 and now. They're just issues that need to be addressed. I fully understand how difficult it has been to select a start time schedule that meets the needs of our students and families. You have that opportunity tonight. I strongly encourage you to do the right thing, not the easy thing, and vote to implement healthy start times for this fall. It is not the time to keep kicking the can down the road, which is what this district does all the time. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kath Kurtz. I live in Narberth, and
I'm at this meeting because a couple of months ago I wandered into Oakwell, as you can see, and was blown away by what a special place it was. And I am working hard to try to keep Oakwell as it is, as it needs to be, an amazing biohabitat. And, or I guess I want to say, but I came for Oakwell, but I stayed for a lot of other things as well. And over the many meetings I've gone to since, I've heard great discussions about late start times and full-day kindergarten. And often I've heard this, well, a couple of vans might do it, but that would really be cost prohibitive. Or I don't know the specifics of this, but many times when tweaks were suggested for start times, childcare, transportation, drivers, cost prohibitive came up. So cost is an issue. And now tonight, I'm really learning more about the need for bolstered diversity education all across the district. So why not take the $6 million for that field at Oakwell and apply those funds to real education needs to help healthy start times be as good as they can and to help make sure that diversity education is supported throughout the system, whether it's outright racism and discrimination or subtle micro stuff that goes on all the time. You need to spend the money wisely for really important needs for Lower Merion students and the community. Thank you.
Hello, Ezra Wood, Merion Station. Ms. Shaver started out this presentation on school start times noting it's all about science. And of course, I agree, we all agree here. The science shows that early start times contribute greatly to teens' chronic lack of sleep. The science shows that lack of sleep is a major contributor to mental health problems. There's a mental health crisis among teens in this country, and it's getting worse. According to the CDC, in 2021, 57% of teen girls persistently felt sad or hopeless. It's higher for girls than boys. Rates of suicide and suicidal thoughts are also alarmingly high and getting worse. It was noted this is a polarized issue, and whether or not that's true or not, that's opinion. The science is not polarized. It's crystal clear. The 7:30 start time is damaging and needs to change as soon as possible. Logistically, it probably won't be easy. I get it. Should we expect it'll be easy? I mean, do we expect it to be just, oh, snap your fingers, it'll be easy? Is it really going to be that much easier after one more year of studying it, possibly with a new superintendent and school board composition? No. Will it be easier? No. If it's voted down, what do we say to those depressed teens? What do us parents of teen girls tell them? Tonight, when I go home tonight, what do I say if it's voted down? That maybe it will happen in fall of 24? Do I tell them, yes, it will happen in fall of 23? I hope that.
Thank you.
After Mike, we have Miriam Vinci, Tracy Bolton, and Kim Dittmitz.
Hi, my name is Mike Gilbode. I'm from Merion Station, parent of a first grader at Kinwood and a child not yet of elementary age. I only recently came to learn that high school starts at 7:30, and so I agree it's way too early. But the elementary students, parents, and staff are actual stakeholders, and I don't feel that they're really being considered in this. I appreciate that it's unfortunate the board puts us in the position that it's this plan or no plan. I have I was not engaged in this issue or other issues. Only when the board chose to engage the community was after they decided that this is the plan. I find that also unfortunate. It would have been nice to engage the community as well. I really believe that we can do better for the high school students without completely disregarding elementary and middle school students. I find it completely disingenuous to say that your child will soon be a high school student, to say that I should just ignore the next 8 years of my life and everybody else's life there will always be elementary school students if we're lucky. There will always be elementary school teachers who will never be high school teachers, most likely. I just think we can do better than this. And there was just one comment. Someone asked the superintendent about whether we considered the impact on the education of the elementary students and social emotional impact. And I was a little disappointed to hear that the answer was effectively no. We hadn't looked into it. This is unfortunate, but I encourage you to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, good evening. My name is Merion Posner-Vinci, and I'm a Bala Kinwood resident and a parent to a current 2nd and 4th grader at Kinwood Elementary, as well as a 1- and 3-year-old. While I'm in full support of healthy start times, I'm in support of finding a solution that works to foster the health of all of our children. I am here again to ask the board to vote no to the current start times proposal and to keep working towards a solution that works for all our students. There's been a lot of work figuring out optimal school start and end times for our high schoolers and middle schoolers that doesn't interfere with their sports or extracurriculars. There's been no ongoing work, or at least none has been shared, to figure out how to make any adjusted school start and end times work with the extracurriculars of our elementary-age children. In fact, it feels like their lives have been completely dismissed. Based on my research, if our elementary schools were to dismiss at 4:05, it would be at least 25 minutes later than any of our neighboring school districts' dismissal time, and in most cases, much more than that. Because of this, the start time of organized after-school extracurriculars available to elementary-age children within a reasonable distance from Lower Merion all begin at a time that will make it impossible for elementary students to participate in if you pass this proposal. We would be doing a huge disservice to the mental health and well-being of our youngest learners if we put forward a proposal that is not only going against what the research says about their optimal learning windows, but now prohibits them from participating in the activities that some of them have been doing for years and have achieved skills and levels of proficiency in that they are proud of and want to continue building. Personally, my daughter would be heartbroken if I had to tell her she can no longer continue on her competitive gymnastics team because she would never be able to make it to the practices on time in the new schedule. According to the U.S. Department of Education, the average elementary start time is 8 a.m., and the average end time is 3 p.m. in our country. To put us so drastically off this schedule would be a big mistake for many reasons. Thank you.
Thank you.
Me afterwards? Nancy.
Tracy Bolton?
Oh, no.
She here? Okay.
Hi, my name's Tracy Bolton, Haverford. Thank you all for your stamina with this issue. You know, as I sit here, I am a trained change management professional. I've been helping organizations execute change across their organizations for over 20 years. And some of the things that I noticed just in my observation in the last year and a half working on this issue is a classic case study in what happens to derail beneficial change. Fear and the quest for perfection, two things that never materialize in change being executed. I have also did some informal polling to some of the district superintendents, assistant superintendents that have implemented healthy start times in the last few years. And I'm going to quote some of them. Yes, we had such contention, everyone was never happy. But I'll tell you this, Ms. Bolton, if we tried to go back, we would have an uproar. Fear cannot derail change. It does so often, and this is a perfect case study. It will never be perfect. As Ms. Schaefer has said repeatedly, things have changed since 2019, things have changed since COVID. Things will continue to change. That is the constant we know. There will be another group of stakeholders after this year. There will be another superintendent. What his or her objectives may be, we don't know. There will be a new slate of board members. We don't know. But what we do know is that the stakes are high for our high school students. Whether it's visible or not, students are suffering. You may not be aware, but they are self-medicating. They are smoking weed. They don't smoke, they use pipes now or the vapors, but they are doing that. They are self-medicating. They are fighting. There is conflict in the home with those start times. I have been in the game a long time. I'm recent here from California, so I'm bringing an objective lens, but I'm going to tell you, I've never seen a situation where change is easy. It is always going to be hard. And I will guarantee you, there is fear, but move past the fear. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Right? You have to. The stakes are too high. We can't dismiss it. The student told you they are suffering. So another year won't change it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bolton.
Kim Lippitz, Kate, sorry, DA, it's either H.
Hi.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Kim Lippitz, I live in Narberth. I'm forcing myself to stay on script because I worry if I go off script. I'm a really proud mom to 3 amazing human beings. And I can talk about what I did, what I do as for a living. I didn't go to Princeton. I do have a graduate degree in philosophy of education with an emphasis on ethics. My professional career has been in higher education, but my greatest experience is as a mom. I want to thank all of you parents who have been working for a really long time. Many of you who don't have kids in the district anymore, and I think that we need to acknowledge how many people are here who don't have a stake in the game and who've been working on this for 15 years. Now I'm going to try to go back to script. I really want to thank the administration for coming up with this plan. This is a really good plan. It's not a perfect plan, but this is a good plan. I want to especially thank our Director of Transportation, who is a superhero. And for those people who talk about, or someone just mentioned, well, we can do more with buses this year, we can figure out and make it, we can't. Go to facilities meetings, maybe eventually. But if we put this off, nothing is going to change in the fall. Our transportation issues are not going to change in the fall. We know that this plan is the best option to get this done. And it's time to get done, and I'm off script. At this point, really, nothing that I can say or anyone else can say, well, I would hope, but I think that you each know how you're going to vote, and I wanted to take my last minute, I wish I had another minute and a half, just to say that this is part of a larger wellness puzzle. This is one piece, right? Healthy start times is one piece of a larger puzzle. What broke my heart, now I'm going to go off script because I only have 1 minute and I don't have time to finish. What broke my heart about the survey, more than anything, and I emailed all of you the day after that survey went out, it is that survey has no efficacy. Not only does it have no efficacy, we asked our students and our parents to check a box that said, do you identify as gifted? There is a problem in this district. We have a rat race with our kids starting in the youngest grades. Those kids in 2nd and 3rd grade would know what box to check. They would know if they should check the box gifted because they're tracked into gifted. We have a problem, and the problem starts in elementary school. By the time our kids get to high school, they are burnt out. It's time. Don't wait another year.
Thank you, Ms. Lippitz.
Okay, I think it's Kate Dehu, Adrian Seltzer, Marcia Manzoni, Holly Manzoni, Ruth Jenkins.
I'm Kate Datu. I'm from Gladwin. I have 2 kids in the school district. One's about to enter high school. I just want to let you know that how chronic sleep deprivation looks, because for 12 years I've been a nocturnist, which means I only work nights as an ER physician, and it does not do a body good. So I really hope that you guys take this to heart and think about our kids and think about their wellness and think about, I actually can't even get home from a night shift in time to take my kid to high school next year. So I get it. It's hard to get elementary students there at 9:20. That's why I worked nights, but now I can't even get get home in time to take a kid to 7:30 start time. So I really have no clue how he's going to get there. So it's meaningful. It's important. Please, please don't wait. I'm not saying that there is time for change, possibly for elementary students that might be more ideal. I agree, but we shouldn't do that to the cost of our high school and middle school kids. So thanks so much. And thanks for your time. I know this is endless and I can't imagine. Thank you.
I thought I was on the first page. Adrian Seltzer, Wynwood. I have a couple comments I want to just add in before I start my comments. One is, it seems like the culture of the school board and the administration is to talk everything to death and accomplish nothing. So that is, 22 years of care, 22 years of later start time. It's just, my youngest is 38, just to give you an idea. Okay. And this whole thing about schools having equal facilities. Why is there no pool at Harriton if you're so concerned with equal facilities? Why is there no green space at Penn Wynne if you're so concerned about equal facilities for 2 little fields at Oakwell? All right. That was my off script. Okay. Good evening. Since many others are speaking tonight about healthy start times and the environment, I'm going to speak about something that got me into activism and advocacy many years ago, and that was racial issues. Just as an aside, I am the vice president of the mainline branch NAACP. I am their vice president, not speaking in that capacity though. But while everybody was giving degrees, I thought I'd throw that in. Mine's only in accounting. Okay. When I was at that equity and anti-racism meeting, Kerry quoted me a bit, and I asked seriously, what are the actions being taken, and not just talk. I knew about the incident that happened in January. That was the one in the paper. That happened in January, and it just got in the paper in March. And that's something that wasn't reported. Okay, I took up too much time. All right. I want to know what actions are being taken so that administrators and teachers understand their unconscious and not so unconscious biases. How students are taught that the N-word and other hateful words or actions are not acceptable. Is it any wonder that the ad hoc meetings, which are not called ad hoc meetings, started with over 100 community members, and there's only a handful now? Only a handful. I know there is care, but over the 2-decade-long length of that thing, and while in recent years there's been excellent training, it doesn't help if the staff, administration, and community members do not receive it. And I just want to say that this is not just your responsibility. Racism isn't just your responsibility, the school's responsibility. It is the community's responsibility. It is each parent's responsibility to let them know that this type of behavior is not acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Seltzer.
Marsha Manzoni, Narberth. You're working very hard to give kids a great experience in our school system, but you're missing the mark. There are many things that would improve the school experience here, but destroying Oakwell to build playing fields is not one of them. Listen to the kids. You heard from one very impassioned student tonight. They have told you what they want. They're stressed about the environment and worried about their futures. It's all spelled out in their great website. I see a lot of support from the kids during the weekly protests on Friday afternoons. In fact, there's a lot of support from the entire community. They drive by and they honk their horns in support of the efforts to preserve Oakwell. I've yet to hear any student asking for more playing fields. I've been to Oakwell and can tell you that it would be a disaster on numerous levels to destroy it, to build the playing fields that you don't really even need. When I studied at St. Andrews, sorry, it's not Princeton, but my family spent a week on a road trip throughout the UK looking at castles and historic sites. We don't have many castles here other than the Horace Trumbauer Castle at Arcadia. So places like Oakwell are really the closest that we have to that. And Oakwell is an incredible place. And you want to tear it down to build playing fields. Listen to the kids. Save Oakwell, its history, its environment, and the kids' future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Manzoni.
Holly Manzoni, Wynwood. My daughter just asked you to listen to the kids, and I agree. The kids here are brilliant, and they're very committed and impassioned about things. But I think you also need to listen to all of these people, because they're telling you what this school district needs to focus on. I find that there's an over-focus, in my opinion, on playing fields and athletics in general, that maybe you're stretching yourselves a little too thin. Do the things that really matter to the people. The amount of money being spent on these playing fields, or that you want to spend on the playing fields at Oakwell, is extreme and way out of control. And one of the things I think is real important for people to understand is that people like me who are protesting your plan and want to save Oakwell, and we complain about the money, it's not going to make any difference at all to me in my tax bill, because Act 1 takes care of that. My taxes are going to go up the same regardless of what you do at Oakwell. My bill's going to be the same. The people who are losing are the children, because the money that you're spending on Oakwell, the millions of dollars for a few dozen kids, is taking money away from all of the kids in the entire district. So I hope that you'll kind of rebalance your thinking and try to serve all of the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Manzoni.
Ruth Jenkins, Tracy Spivak, I think it's Yan Liu, and then Maria
Ruth Jenkins, Wynwood, and I'm tired. And I'm tired from last Monday's meeting. And I know that many of you are tired, and you spend your days being tired. And I know that the high school students are tired. Many of them are tired because of lack of sleep, and also because of electronics, because of too much homework. So I think that some of those things can be modified also. I also feel very strongly that our youngest learners are getting a short shrift. They are tired by the time they start school, because they've been up since 6:30. And they come to school and they leave school coming home in the dark. I think that we need to spend a little more time being concerned about the youngest learners, the 5-year-olds and the 6-year-olds that are spending all this extra time being awake when they really should be napping and sleeping by the time they come home? And how do you plan to handle the half-day kindergarten if you go to the time change? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins.
Hello, Tracy Spivak, Wynwood. Ah, my glasses. All right, I told my 17-year-old I would read this. We must stop bargaining with science. We must stop prioritizing sports, after-school activities, extracurriculars, childcare, and other logistical issues over the health of our students. The only reasonable outcome is voting in favor of healthy school start times. We have not come this far to make it this far. Please put the students first. And then I just want to say that Lmsb puts forth a dangerous start time. 7:30 is a dangerous start time for our teens. It's harmful to their mental and physical health and has been for over a decade. It's negligent. My daughter is a junior. She'll never get back what she lost due to that start time. I'll never get back who she could have been if she could have gone to school a little bit later, because I have other children that went later and they were different kids. Who is responsible? I don't know. Who is responsible? Who should be held accountable for this? I don't have that answer, but when I hear things about, oh, my child won't make it to their extracurricular, I'm like, there's a mental health crisis with anxiety and depression. And we're worried about an after-school extracurricular activity? It seems frivolous. And when I hear that the teachers are like, oh, I'm not loving that end time at 4:20, it's like, I've never applied for a job where I said to my boss, yeah, these are the hours that I would like. And if teachers want to leave for a 20-minute difference, then they shouldn't be there anyway. Because this school district pays well. I know it does. And I know there's really good benefits here. So it's a really good gig for someone who wants to be a teacher, if they really want to be a teacher, if their heart's in the right place and they're here for the right reasons. And when you say, oh, they have other jobs, and you know, we all have lives and we all have to make choices. I had 3 kids, I worked, I paid out the wazoo for childcare. In-home, out of the home, on Craigslist, ads, this one couldn't come, called this one, got my neighbor's daughter to come over. I just hear everything is in front of these school start times and our teens. Please, please, please vote yes tonight.
Thank you.
Sorry, I thought it was her. Hello, my name is Yair, and I'm from Merion Station. And I wanted to say that I had a lot of things to talk about, but I'm so shocked, seriously, about what happened here in the last 30 minutes, or all these comments, that I'm going to go completely, I left my speech, and I'm going to talk to you from my heart, because I'm so upset right now. I think that, first of all, vote no, and consider a proposal that is similar or modified 2019. And why is that? I think that, you know, every proposal, there's always going to be, you know, especially something emotional like this, there's always going to be people who are not happy for individual reasons, you know, transportation, work, 2 parents working, whatever. There's always going to be 1%, 2%, 3%. As long as the vast majority supports the proposal, go ahead. It's not the case here. Look at the data. I've been emailing with every single one of the board members. I've been Facebooking with all the people here. The comments that I've received, I felt so bullied. I'm sure that a lot of Facebook comments will be erased today. I was feeling so bullied. I never get scared for myself, but now I'm scared for my family because of the bullying. And you can laugh in the same way that you laughed about the parents, in the same way that you're trying to bully the board members, that you will be replaced if you're not going to do what we say. This is a vocal minority, a vocal, aggressive minority. It is not the majority. You know who the majority is? The majority are the 40% of the data that you requested, the 40% of the parents that felt very negatively about the impact that this proposal will cause their children. 40%. 50% of the teachers that you think, oh, go away, are beloved. Our beloved teachers, go away. They're getting paid. Who cares about them? They're working only between 9 to 4 o'clock. Who cares about them? Go look for another job. They're dispensable. We are great. They're dispensable. They're replaceable. Listen to the teachers. More than 50% of the teachers are reporting a very negative, very significant concern to their mental health. More than 50%, more than 2/3 of the teachers are expressing significant concern to the elementary school children on every single parameter. Listen to the data. Of course, it's shocking that the professor from Princeton thinks, and all of them think that the data is terrible, shocking, really shocking. I'm sure that if the data would have supported them, they would have fiercely, combated the same data as they are now. But the most I've lived, I'm older than most of the people here in terms of children. I have 2 young children, and that's because I've lived in many places in the world. I can tell you that over the course of the last 2 weeks on Facebook, I've never seen such disrespect to parents and to disrespect mostly to teachers as I've ever seen in my life. Not in India, not in South Africa. Disrespect, almost hatred from this faction, this minority of parents who are so vocal, who are trying to scare you as well as me. As well, I'm afraid, not for myself. I never fear for myself. I'm afraid for my 2 young kids, because who knows what they're going to do. Not all of them, but there's a vocal minority, and I'm serious here. Yes, let them laugh. They are a minority, and they are trying to scare you. Vote for the 2019 proposal. That's reasonable. We accept what they're saying about the high school. We accept what they're saying about the high school.
Thank you very much.
We just want to go back to the previous order. And stop scaring us. Stop bullying us.
Thank you very much.
Shame on you.
Of course.
Maria Rico, Heather Bracken, I think, Tanya Shriver, Laura Goldenberg.
Good evening. I am Maria Rico. I live in Haverford. Next to infancy, adolescence is the most dynamic period for brain development, also known as a window of opportunity, making this an ideal time for youth to gain and maintain new skills, provided they get adequate sleep. At no other stage in life, the human brain will be in this incredible state again. Please, please, don't close that window of opportunity to literally thousands of adolescents in the district whose future is in your hands tonight. Doing that for even one more year, I would say it's even cruel, no matter the reason. I'm hoping that your vote will not rely heavily on the survey, but on scientific data. I believe that the survey results might help find opportunities to mitigate against some of the very real challenges that families will experience, but not drive the decision. Elementary school parents, I really empathize with the challenges that they express, but I sincerely don't understand because they rejected adamantly a proposal, the 2019 proposal, right? So, that's right. And to those parents, I have to tell them that when my son was in elementary school, I was sure that when he would get to high school, this would be fixed, done. I was sure. He's a freshman now. He's exhausted. And every morning, hopefully, almost crying, he asks, "Do you have any update on the healthy school times, Mom?" And we're going in circles on this. And sadly, It's our high school kids who continue to suffer. Regarding teachers, who I really respect because they have been wonderful, especially elementary school teachers. They have been fantastic. But please don't forget that you have also heard from teachers urging you to implement healthy school times. Please vote yes and bring meaningful change to our teenage kids. Thank you, and thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Is it me? Heather's next. Sorry, you're after her, Tanya. Heather? No Heather? Okay. Tanya Schreiber.
Hi, Tanya Schreiber, Penguin. And there's a lot of people here who've been very involved for a long time, so I thought it would be useful. I don't want this to sound like I'm just saying this to you. I'm taking this opportunity to speak to the public about some things that I think need to be a part of tonight's conversation. We talk a lot about where we're above averages federally and at the state level, so I felt it was important to share a few of the statements from the Pennsylvania Youth Survey where we actually rank above average. Lower Merion students, 12th graders, at the last survey were more likely than the average. Now, think about where we are, affluence level, comfort level, class size level, where we are compared to most kids in Pennsylvania. And then think about what is it that's leading them to answer more often to this. Sometimes I think life is not worth living. At times, I think I'm no good at all. All in all, I am inclined to think I'm a failure. There are two truths that we keep forgetting about that aren't mentioned enough. We don't have to like it, but I believe Mr. Vilkins, who has been here since January 2015 as the Director of Transportation, he was brought here and this was one of the first things he was working on, and he told us that with the $15 million, $16 million he has, he can't go below 3 tiers. Tweaks maybe, can't go to 2 tiers. If you want to add more money, yes, we can add more money to that. Let's get 15 million to 20 million, 25 million, but think about all the things we discuss in this room that we want done for $5 million, $10 million a year, and think about what gets knocked off the plate if we spend it on more buses to get to 2 tiers. The other thing he said is that elementary must go last. And Yair's response to that was, well, if the elementary school kids aren't there, give them 3 shots at it and then tell them the bus isn't going to wait for them. If the kid doesn't get off the bus or his parent isn't there, take him back. It doesn't matter. Get him to 40 minutes. Now, the survey brought up a lot of concerns, and they're important and they're valuable, and they should be used to figure out how we can mitigate the challenges that this will bring. But this is not a board. You guys are the leaders, and we're not supposed to make popular opinions. We're supposed to be looking for equity. We're supposed to do what's right. And we know that if we leave things the way they are, the affluent kids are getting in their mom's car and getting driven to school, or they're going to private school. We know the special ed kids are the ones who are more harmed when they lose sleep. This group of people, we have had some of you here for a decade on this board. This group of people who've been studying this is what you're gonna do. And you know, even if you spend the next 6 months on it, you're gonna find this order is the only thing that works because Mr. Vilkins told you that. You're just gonna burn the time, and you're gonna burn a whole other year for nothing. At least wait a month. If 5 of you can't vote yes tonight, at least revisit this and try again next month.
Hi, I'm Laura Goldenberg from Bala-Cynwyd, and I have a 9th grade son at LM, and I support the current proposal to move to Healthy Start Times in September 2023. It's been a long and exhausting journey to tonight, and I only moved to the district last fall. Thank you so much for the work that you have done to try to finally take action on a critical mental and physical health crisis that you have been unable to successfully address for decades. There is no ideal solution. This is clear. There will always be people who are unsatisfied with the proposal and find things to be concerned about. But there is no more time to study this issue. There is only time to act now, this evening, to take the courageous step and vote yes on this plan to move to healthy start times in September 2023. Our teens are suffering. The science is clear. There is no time to waste. You must act now. This proposal can be implemented this coming fall, and you can continue to study how to make it better for fall 2024. But we cannot wait any longer. Please vote yes to approve moving to healthy start times in September 2023. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nancy P., Esther Kim, Michael Beatrice, Deborah Robbins, and then Lisa Kolish.
Okay, I think this time I heard. Yeah. So, hi everyone. My name is Nancy Polychronopoulou. I'm from Balakinwit. I'm a mother of 2 boys, a 3rd grader and a kindergartner, and I would like to ask you to vote yes today. No, I don't really have anything formal prepared. I wasn't ready to address you today, but I do have a couple of bullet points that came up from the discussion earlier. The way I see it, the current plan is not really a reaction to the feedback of 2019, or at least it's not a negative reaction to the feedback of 2019. Radnor had the current proposal as their first choice, and this is the plan that they, and I quote, characterized as the least disruptive for families at all levels, and I agree. The families that opposed in the 2019 plan, they're still here. They're still families of the district. I can't speak for everyone, but all the work that we did, all the arguments, all the research articles, and all the information that we gathered back then still stand and remains current and true. Presentation-wise, I want to add that I don't think it was really fair for the current plan to present the entire huge list of negative comments that you received for the current plan without acknowledging all the comments that you received back in 2019. It felt very unbalanced, and that's why a lot of people feel that maybe we should revisit all the previous plans and just go back there. But if you do a fair comparison, I feel that you can make a decision that you can go to sleep with, that you can vote and feel right about it. So the way I see it, if you don't vote yes today, that is a reaction, and it's a negative reaction to fear of change. And it's okay, everyone is scared of change, but we will all be better off collectively as a community with the current change. You've had surveys, you've had input from the community, you came up with a plan, you voted it down. Now you had new plan, new surveys, now vote. Please vote. Vote yes, don't go back in circles. There's no perfect solution, but this is a good solution and it's an achievable solution. Thank you.
Hi, Esther Kim. I live in Penn Valley. My son is a Heritage student. The early start times are harming teens now. So the board needs to resolve this harm now and vote yes on the proposal for later start times now. Please follow the recommendations of the medical community when voting on serious health and safety conditions rather than rely on fluctuating public opinion. The American Academy of Pediatrics, the CDC, the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, the University of Pennsylvania, and countless other physicians have recommended later school start times. These medical organizations have warned early start times cause long-term sleep deprivation and puts teens at risk for poor academic learning, obesity, illicit drug use, drinking alcohol, car accidents, depression, and suicide. These problems can result in chronic health conditions and even fatal outcomes for teens and then for everyone in the community. Many parents and local physicians have also reported sleep deprivation is daily torture for our teens during all 4 years of high school. Sleep deprivation is used as a form of torture in some countries. Sleep deprivation is another problem added onto the other negative impacts that teens face, like the COVID-19 pandemic and all of its effects and all the pressures our teens already struggle with in high school. Please vote yes on the proposal for later start times before we have a severe or fatal outcomes for any teens in our community. So concerns. All right, here's a concern. Not enough time to change the start times. The school district was able to make dramatic changes in 1 month to all school schedules for the COVID pandemic, so the school can do changes. Also, the school board has had more than 10 years to adjust the start times. Next concern, some teachers are threatening to quit if the start times change. Okay, we all love our teachers, but please put students first. If a teacher leaves, that's their freedom of choice. When teachers quit, there are many other teachers who are from many area universities who would love to work in our school district. Some of the parents of younger children are concerned about childcare issues and the attention of younger kids in the afternoon. 4 years of sleep deprivation for our teens is not the answer. Some athletes are concerned about missing classes to get to games or practice. The current early start times inflict 4 years of sleep deprivation on teens. That is an unsafe way to run an athletics program. We will find solution to all these other concerns. 4 years of sleep deprivation for our teens is not the answer. Please vote yes for the medical recommendations for the health and safety of our teams. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Quinn.
Michael Beatrice, Deborah Robbins, and then Lisa Kolish.
Good evening, everyone. Mike Beatrice. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Father of 2 elementary school children in Lower Merion District. Before everybody makes up their mind on me, I just wanted to get out of the way. I do work at Princeton. Okay. I don't know how we have so many Princeton people here in northwest of the city, but I know everyone's tired. I'm tired too. Everybody's here, I'm sure, against their other things that they've got going on. If I could say, I'm just trying to offer some value. Many people have stated a number of things before me, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go last. The current plan, I think, acknowledges the high school student issues with the high school start time, issues with middle school start time well enough. And I would love for both things to be true. There's been a number of things said today, a number of things that I've heard said in advance of today's meeting that I just don't understand why we have to live in a situation where certain people's understandings of what's important to them or maybe what's important to the general community has to be put down, why those need to be of less value than something else. Both things can be true. This is a problem that we need to solve. Obviously, the people who want to dispute the science, I would challenge you to, really do that in a factual manner, but it is absolutely insensitive and as ignorant to propose that people are lying when they say that logistical problems are just as much of a mental health issue for families as actual mental health issues are for families. I'd like to just read you real quick. The pandemic created a child care crisis. Mothers bore the burden. This was an article in the New York Times, May 2021. This was just as important of a conversation pre-pandemic as it is after pandemic. Women consistently bear the responsibility of child care, and we have an issue with 9 o'clock. 9:20 is just as hard, if not more difficult. So the only thing that I'm asking the board, if this passes, that's a wonderful thing for the future of my children. I wish that many of the people who have been here for decades fighting for this had it. But what I don't see is any attention paid to the problem here. The problem is the elementary start time. We need to understand, how are we going to provide affordable care for people beforehand, for the people who don't even want to have care for their children beforehand? Will there be any type of activities that they can provide for their children? Many teachers say that around 1:30, 2 o'clock, the focus and attention span of children diminish. We're putting more time after that. I just would like to see an equitable share of attention paid to the children of elementary age. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Deborah Robbins and then Lisa.
Good evening. Deborah Robbins from Villanova. Sure, lots of you know me as that Oakwell lady. In the spirit of tonight's meeting, I would like to share that my heart aches for what I hear about the high school students suffering. I lost a godson to mental illness in his young adulthood. He was a Harriton graduate. And I work in the healthcare field. So I have lots of empathy, and I think that the plan for Early Start is, I think it should go forward, but I totally see how there are many, many difficulties, and I hope that those can be very carefully and swiftly ironed out. But you can't iron things out until you take out the ironing board and get going. So it needs to be addressed. What's my angle? Well, I care about that, but it doesn't affect me directly any longer. My children are 38, 35, and 30, and that's enough to make me cry. But anyway, but what we keep going back to is that there were some decisions made in the past, times were different, climate knowledge was different, perceptions of needs were different, and so these decisions about fields were made, and they turned out not to be good decisions. And we're talking about millions and millions of dollars, and we're talking about serious needs for our young people to no longer suffer, so that nobody here has to bury someone in their 20s for mental illness reasons. And so let's divest of things that aren't necessary and take that, those, what's the word I'm looking for, assets, if you will, and direct them towards more immediate, profound, important needs. And that's why I ask you, do go forward, but with thoughtfulness for other resources that can be applied to problem solve with the implementation of this big change. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robbins.
Hello, my name is Lisa Kolish-Gottesman. I live on the border of Merion Station and Narberth. I have a son in college who went to LM, and I have a son who's a junior at LM. And I've been involved in this issue for about 10 years, maybe more, the school start times. So I urge the board to vote yes on this proposal, which is not perfect. I arrived late tonight, but what I understand is there are some elementary school parents here who are very upset. And I remember so well the last proposal, I guess it was 2019, where the elementary school kids were going to go first, and then middle school, and then high school, which seemed very logical. And the elementary school parents at that time went crazy. They organized themselves, they protested, they had lawn signs. They didn't want their kids to go to school that early. So they scared the board into changing the whole strategy so that middle school kids could go first and elementary school kids could go last. Now, okay, take two, we're trying again. Now the elementary school parents are not happy again. They want it the other way. Well, it's enough. It's enough. Those of us who have teenagers and those of you who don't, you will eventually, and you, believe us, you'll understand. When your kids become teenagers, you know, it's like little kids, little problems, big kids, big problems, you'll understand. But this is not the time to go back. This is the time to move forward and to pass this and to tweak it later. If the elementary school parents that can't agree want to come together after this is implemented and work through their issues and come up with a proposal, great. But don't do it at the expense of our teens. It's like you want black and then you want white. Figure it out. But don't put our teens at risk. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sabrina Brown, Karen Richter, and Jillian Johnson.
Leo Brown. Just Brown or Lou Brown?
Oh, sorry. I'm Sorry, yes, Lee Brown, sorry.
It's okay. Hi, my name is Sabrina Lou Brown, and I'm from Narberth. I graduated Harriton High School in 2019, and I am now a senior at Eckerd College in St. Petersburg, Florida. I support the current proposal for healthy start times. If I could describe my high school experience in one word, it would be exhausting. I remember walking into school feeling drained, wandering down the halls half awake. I could barely stay awake for my morning classes, exhausted from days on end waking up way too early. I burned out, exhausted my senior year of high school. My mental health plummeted. I couldn't keep up with the intense stress and years of missed sleep. I developed a major depressive disorder, or depression, and attempted suicide senior year of high school, unable to keep up with it any longer. My life almost ended at age 17. I paid in years of terrible mental health, 4 years, and still ongoing. But I am finally starting to get on top of it. As a college senior, this has had a lasting impact over my life, especially my college years, as I am finally performing to my full potential in the last year of my college, thanks to these terrible school start times. This same experience happened to my second oldest sister, who also went to Harriton High School, and now I'm seeing it in my younger sister, who currently goes to Harriton High School. She is struggling right now. Crushed with work, she's exhausted. She didn't have the time or energy to come voice her opinion to support the current proposal here today. So I'm here for her, and my speech represents the both of us. And this is what I've learned so far. Through my years of college, I've been through all sorts of school start times, and some of them as early as 8, some of them as early as 6, and as late as 10. And I have found that with my 10 o'clock start times, I have been able to perform the best. All the other ones, I struggled with grades and struggled with mental health. But in this time, where my last semester, I was able to start at 10 and 10:40, my grades have drastically improved from C's to A's. This is a big, important situation, and this should be considered as such. With sleep, I could have been more efficient and done better in high school. The workload was huge, but I could have been quicker and performed so much better if I had sleep. I'm speaking out to make high school a better place for current and future students so they don't have to end up paying the price like me. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Abby. My name is Karen Richter, and I live in Bala-Cynwyd. I'm a parent of 4 current Lower Merion School District students and 1 student in college who graduated when Sabrina did. It's my 17th year as a parent in the district, and this is the first time I felt truly compelled to voice my opinion at a school board meeting. 2 of my kids are in high school, 1 is in middle school, and 1 is in elementary school, so I do understand the concerns at each school level. I'm here tonight to express my full support of the proposed changes to school start times and sincerely hope that the board votes tonight to implement these critically important changes for the 2023-2024 school year. It's about physical health, it's about mental well-being, it's about sleep, it's about time. I also just want to read a letter that my 10-year-old wrote. Dear Lower Merion District School Board, my name is Lila and I'm a 4th grader at Belmont Hills Elementary School. I'm writing to you to tell you I support the school start time change. I have 4 older siblings, 1 in college, 2 at Harriton High School, and 1 who will be going to Harriton next year. I've seen how not getting enough sleep can make someone grumpy and stressed out. My sister dances after school 5 days a week, and getting more sleep would help her feel better and get her schoolwork done. If my brother got more rest in the morning, he would feel safer when he drives, and he would have more energy to play with me. I know the changes aren't perfect for everyone, but I think that people would adjust. It is important to help the people who need it most. I know when I'm in high school, I will be happy you voted for this important change. Thank you for listening to all sides of the argument, and please vote yes.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jillian Johnson, and I live in Ardmore. And I really want to talk about 2 issues. I don't have prepared remarks, so forgive me as I look at my bullet points. And really, I think they all boiled down to communication. So I will start with the briefest one. As an obviously person of African descent who has children or a child in this school district, I think it's unacceptable to find out, and my daughter goes to Harriton, that there was a racial incident at Harriton, and I didn't know about it until I read it in the Philadelphia Inquirer. Completely unacceptable. If it happens, the kids are going to talk about it, and that issue, that indirect impact, is you cannot minimize it. So the fact that my daughter knows that this happened, even though she wasn't one of the children who received notice about it, this doesn't make for a comfortable school environment. It's not welcoming the idea that it happened and there was radio silence. We have to be we have to get information about this. Have to. I don't want it after the fact. Our healthy start times. Again, I have a high school student. I worked the breakfast table in November at Harriton, and I was astounded by the number of kids drinking caffeine drinks. I didn't know, I know now, you're not supposed to take Red Bull into the school, but let me tell you, those Red Bulls sold out fast. These kids are tired. And my daughter, I belatedly learned, hidden in our basement refrigerator, was one of those, I don't know, those giant Starbucks coffee drinks. And we are not a coffee drinking household. So where did this come from? My daughter fessed up to it. Oh, I drink that when I can't go to bed if I don't go to bed until like 11:30 midnight, I need it in the morning so that I can get to class. That's outrageous. It's outrageous. We are literally encouraging our children to become caffeine addicts. And my daughter was in 8th grade when we were talking about making this change before, and I really hoped we'd get it right by her 9th grade. We didn't, but it feels like we're in the same analysis paralysis space. And absolutely, I agree that it's imperfect. Actually, I agree with the elementary parents that what we're asking of them is a bit strange. I went to school from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. from kindergarten to 12th grade. So I didn't nap. My daughter naps after school every day. So what we're doing is just not working. We've got to make a change. If we don't make a change and then improve on that change, we are absolutely failing these kids. Vote yes and keep at work. We have to keep working. We've got to make it better because all of these kids deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
That's it for in person.
Thank you to everyone who spoke this evening in person. Mr. Roos, can you please read any public comments that were submitted via the chat feature?
Yes. First comment is from, First comment, Andrea Spence, Eisenberg, Wynwood. This board has the opportunity to make a significant impact on the health and well-being of our students, high school students in particular. This opportunity has not presented itself to the board since 2020. Please use your power to take advantage of this opportunity and enact change. The current proposal allows all students to not begin school before 8 a.m. This is a huge improvement for our students with only modest changes to the elementary and middle school schedules. If the board continues to pass the buck waiting for the perfect proposal, my third grader will be starting high school at 7:30 a.m. Please don't let that happen. Maintaining the status quo should be unacceptable. There will be no perfect solution for all, and the cost of doing nothing is much too high. Next is Cheryl Masterman, Villanova. I want to thank the board for the dedicated work you have put into studying the sleep start times. Our district supports our students in every way except for healthy sleep times. Please don't wait to make this last adjustment to cover student needs. Putting off until 2024 will mean several new board members will have to start all over again on the research for changing start times. Thank you. Next comment is from Renita Thomas, Wynwood, with 4 students in the district. While I am concerned about the logistics of this plan, I feel we really need to move forward on this proposal. This plan has been in the works for a long time, and there is no reason to wait, as we have not come this far to only come this far. Next is Karen Schloman, Merion Station. Please vote yes on the current Healthy Start Times proposal. This district has spent years on research, surveys, studies, etc. Enough. Our kids' health is at stake, and it sounds like you are going to punt on this again. Just stop. These issues people are raising can be dealt with as the new schedule is implemented. Christina Chang, Penn Valley. I'm hearing from the tea leaves that the board will not vote to pass the proposed time changes tonight. Could we please consider some incremental changes that won't cause big operational issues? Even a 20 to 30 minute shift for the high school students can benefit them. Do we really need another year to solve for operational issues when the topic of healthy start times has been in discussion for over 10 years? Andrew Freetog, Penwyn. How will the schedule change at the high school and middle school levels affect after-school activities and their duration? Next is Steve Philippone, 502 Brockhurst Avenue, Penn Valley. The longer we delay these start times changes, the more classes age out of high school and suffer without healthy start times. There is no perfect solution, but something must be done. I have an 8th grader who is currently suffering, and this will only be made worse come next year. Presently, she's getting 7.5 hours on average. Next year, if things don't change, she'll get an hour less. Lisa Schwartz, Wynwood. I am a child clinical psychologist who also studies teen health promotion in the context of cancer risk at Penn School of Medicine. Later start times for high school students is a public health imperative. The science is clear, not just for their physical and mental health now, but for mitigating later health risks. It's not just about increasing sleep time, but about sleep schedules that coincide with their biological rhythms. Please follow the science and the guidance from all relevant scientific and medical organizations. Vote yes to change start times now. And Barilac, Merion Station. I fully support the proposed school time changes. Congrats on preparing such a thoughtful plan. Having had 2 children suffer through the high school early start and a third currently doing his best to manage it, please adopt this immediately. We all trust that any imperfections will be addressed over time. Braden Jolly, Narberth. I believe that pushing school to a later time will cause after-school activities to go on for later times due to the late time we get out of school. Kate Legg, Wynwood, parent of Black Rock Middle School and Penn Wynn children. I urge you to pass the Healthy Start proposal for this coming school year. Change is hard. There is no perfect proposal, but we have one that is good enough. It helps solve our high schooler sleep issues with the most minimal disruption to the middle and elementary schoolers. It's time to move forward. There will be operational issues that will get worked out. They always do. We just need to be brave and move forward. Thank you. Anu Chaudhuri, Lalakinwood. It looks like the 2019 and 2023 surveys for school times asked very different questions. Sequence. How do you reconcile this? I support healthy start times. High schools can be far for some students. The current proposed high school start time of 8:40 a.m. really puts drivers, students/adults in the middle of peak traffic time. A 30-minute delay in the current start time would have been ideal. Janice Lipsitz, Merion Station. One issue that was not reflected in the feedback this evening regarding healthy start times is equity issues relating to a significant population of students with ADHD and other similar learning differences. In addition to the science of teen brain circadian rhythm impact in general, there are numerous documented sleep disorders that students face, adding to their ability to access learning curriculum at 7:30 a.m. Please vote yes to the Healthy Start Time changes ASAP. Simi Hoke, Merion Station. The above, well, it is absolutely imperative that our children get enough sleep. This is a public health crisis, and it is cruel to delay this mental and physical health crisis any longer. Please do not delay making a decision about this. The time is now. Our children are in mental health crisis. Do you want this suffering on your shoulders? Do it now, please. Peggy Feldman, Narberth, I urge you to vote yes on later start times for 2023. Our teenagers' mental and physical health and safety is at stake. Sarah Rosenbaum, Wynwood, and the mother of a current sixth grader at the New Black Rock Middle School, as well as a recent high school graduate. My daughter currently has a 7:30 pickup from Penn Wyn and does not get into school until after homeroom is started, usually around 8:20. I continue to feel that the middle schoolers would be better served by starting later and the elementary school students by starting earlier, so I would be happier if the elementary and middle school times were reversed. In either case, the elementary kids with working parents may need more assistance with childcare, either before school when the parents have to be gone or after school when the older siblings aren't available. I would really like the board to consider underwriting before and or after school care to relieve this burden for the elementary school kids. Jennifer Moritz, Merion Station, thank you for all of your hard work on this issue. I urge you to follow the science and approve the current proposal for healthy start times for Lower Merion School District starting fall 2023. High school students in Lmsb are suffering mentally, physically, and academically as a result of the current start time, which is brutally early. There are many benefits to a later start time for high school students, and we have the resources in this district to implement it successfully. Follow the science. Thank you. 3 left. Hugh M. Ehrenberg, Penn Valley, MD, Penn Valley. I'm disappointed that it appears that the board is listening to feedback from all concerned parties with equal voice. The fact is, in a resource-scarce environment, busing priorities must be established. So I need you to ask yourself, where do they lie? Why is continued high school sleep torture okay, and we continue to think that sports, extracurricular activities, teacher commutes and side gigs, Montgo Academy, and anything else even remotely on the same plane? These are not concerns of equal weight. And the fact that the numerical minority of high school families again falls victims to a complacent majority is not their fault, it's yours. The science is clear and you either care or you don't. Fix high school start times and let everything else flow from that. Voting no is simply a voice for the status quo. It means you're okay with it, not only for current high school students, but for those who will be high school students. Stop it, do better, vote yes. Amanda Olson, Bala-Cynwyd. I believe I heard Ms. Schaefer say that 2,000 parents filled out the survey, which was flawed since there is no way to track how many times someone submits the survey, and we have 16,000 parents. That's a lot of parents who do not seem to care either way. You are needed to make the right choice. You will be supported if you vote yes today on the plan and commit to working towards honing the schedule as we see what transpires in reality. Please vote yes for all the high schoolers and future high schoolers. Be brave and bold. Change is hard, but change is possible, and you have the power to vote for that change today. Greta Gilbode, Merion Station. I just want to say that I sympathize with the high school students. I think start times for high school are too early for them, but this current plan does not benefit all of the students in the district. I don't believe this is the best plan. The elementary school end time really concerns me. I would love to see other proposals that would benefit all our students. I think that's it. Did you see that? That's it. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Roos. So at this time, we're going to move forward with our agenda. There's one item. It's what everyone came for tonight, being removed from the consent agenda. But prior to getting to the motion, I just want to see where everyone stands so that should there be amendments that we can sort of address that all at once. So just wanted to ask if people wanted to go around and talk about what they're feeling and what their approach is at this point. And I can go first. All right. So this is an issue that I've worked on and learned about for a very long time, long before I was on the board. I've been attending the Regional Adolescent Sleep Needs Coalition. I worked on the ISC. I was a convert, honestly, to changing high school start times. But it is something that I think is imperative. I think it's something we really need to do. That said, I think we need to do it right. Sitting on this side of the table, I think it's really important to make sure that we do it with fidelity, to make sure that we understand what the issues are. And I think that we've learned a lot. We've heard a lot around anytime ending school after 4 p.m. is just too late. We need to listen to our students and understand that there is a huge mental health crisis and that changing the start time is super important. We need to not jeopardize families and elementary school students' whole child approach to schooling and making sure that we address those needs as best we can. We need to build a full, healthy, and a health and wellness plan for our students, K through 12, and this is a piece of it. But we know that there is more to wellness than healthy start times. Between the last meeting and this meeting, there are things that we can look at to make this work. We can look at different times of day length. We can look at if there are any opportunities for transportation. Mr. Villanis, as many people mentioned, is a great asset to this district and is working really hard on these issues. So where I'm coming from is that, yes, we absolutely 100% need to make this change. I am fully in support of it, but I want to do it right, and I strongly feel that we need to wait until fall of 2024 to make sure that we do this with fidelity. So I'd like to give my board colleagues an opportunity to also speak. I ask that we act with civility. One of the things I've been pleasantly surprised with this round in a very positive way, when we went through this process 3 years, what? No. 3 years ago, there was a lot of hostility, there was a lot of anger, there were parents shouting down students in public meetings, it's been very, there's been a lot of engagement in a very positive way, and I hope we can continue that. And I open it up to anyone else who has comments.
Okay, I'll go next. Hi. Sorry, I think this is very tricky because it's not a binary situation, and I appreciate your comments earlier about making sure that we're not making it this or that we're not making it you or I. We watch our country do this, and we're not going to do that in this community and this neighborhood. And what I can reflect back to you is through all the surveys, all the focus groups, all the communications that have happened, I've heard some big things, and that's why I'm making the choice that I'm going to make tonight. Number one, 4:05 end time is too late for any tier. One of our middle school teachers said that, and it resonates so clearly. It doesn't matter what you do, that end is not good for anybody. Two, that elementary school can't end that late, but also we need to do something for the elementary school parents before care starts. That late start time is a huge negative effect on families, on communities, and on teachers, and we have to look at everybody in this community. Number three, our high school students need help. I have 2 high school students. I watch them drag themselves out of bed every single morning. I watch them not be able to do it. But on top of all these pieces, we have to build a full health and wellness plan. It is additional pieces to this, and we have to do that this year, in the year coming up. We have to look at all the pieces that are getting our kids so stressed, that are getting our kids in such unhealthy situations. So with that, and you can all grow now, I feel very comfortable with moving this plan forward with those mitigations, but I will not vote for it in 2023. I'll vote for it in 2024.
Excuse me, the board listened attentively and respectfully to every single comment tonight. Please extend the board the same courtesy.
I'd like to weigh in. Okay. So this has definitely been an issue that's been critically important, and having been here for the 2019 vote, as was shared, that became very contentious. And one of the things that I lean into when we're faced with these difficult decisions, whether it's hiring a superintendent, COVID issues, is that, we have to, as a school board, be thoughtful and mindful of the entire district. So, if there's issues that are impacting Penn where I live, it can't be that I'm focused on that issue or over any other building or school in the district. And I think as we think about this issue and we're repeatedly told to listen to the science, that I wish we had done that in 2019 and stuck to our guns with the elementary school first, because as President Klein shared, the notion of ending the school day at 4:05 for any tier feels unacceptable. We know what the science says, that elementary age students tend to get up earlier, they tend to fade earlier in the day, and that, ending their day at 4:05 does not, for me, feel comfortable in terms of, making sure that we're looking for the best results for all children, and particularly with elementary school students at that point are getting their fundamentals and really their foundation of learning, and we want to make sure that we're putting them at an optimal time. So I would really support either a flip of putting elementary back at the top. I think that is the most equitable approach to make sure that we're not only addressing the critical issue for our high school students, but then also for our youngest learners as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mooring.
I've watched this issue for 10 years. I've been on the school board this will be my 12th year, my last year. And I would like to see the issue resolved, not permanently, but at least begin to become resolved. Kind of go through the iterations of, oh, we need to tweak this year, or we need to tweak that year. But I don't think that putting it off another year is going to make that much of a big difference. But you guys have to be respectful. We know the science, we know what's important, we know what our limitations are in terms of transportation and other things. I think that this is workable.
So I have a lot of thoughts. I've been working on this for a while, and I've been really spending a lot of time and a lot of consideration on this. Regards to timing, I will say I am flexible depending on what my colleagues feel. My biggest concern with the 2023 implementation is the fact that we will have an incoming superintendent who will begin their tenure mere weeks, like maybe 2 weeks before we're completely starting this change. And we have been having a lot of change, and I am just very aware that if we start this fall, that will be a consideration. That's all. I just want to put a flag in that, mark that for everyone. In terms of my feelings on this, and I will be speaking on this in a little bit once my colleagues have all had an opportunity to say that, I think absolutely we need to change our start times for high school students. The point of this is to maintain the most sleep time for our adolescent students. And I am very concerned that this current plan neglects the sleep time of adolescents that are in middle school. There are a lot of children that are in middle school that have gone through puberty that are suffering through this. I know middle school was not yesterday for me, but I remember suffering through an 8 a.m. start in middle school, and it was a hardship. I think we are neglecting the sleep needs of our youngest adolescents, and I think that's a really important thing for the community and for my colleagues on the board to consider as we go forward. I think also that I've been concerned that in seeing this feedback, what makes me kind of sad is seeing this issue become an issue of factions, of high school parents against elementary school parents. And I just want to say that we all carry a burden, and I want to recognize that the burden to elementary school parents in starting elementary school after 9 o'clock is real. For those two working parent families, for those single parent families to be able to get a child to school at 9:20 and be at work at 9 a.m., that is not how physics works. I understand that there's an opportunity that perhaps we could start planning additional programs to have early care. That's a possibility. I mean, if that's the option, it's the option. It's not ideal. It lengthens the day for these youngest kids that are already having a hard time being at school for this length of time. I also would like to address the comments about the feedback we've been getting from teachers. I will say that in the emails we have gotten to community comments, to my personal Lmsb email, to the sleep emails, and my conversations that I have had anecdotally with teachers, there has been unanimous, in my experience, feedback from educators that do not want elementary school in this last position. I will draw my colleagues' attention to the community comments that were from specifically labeled yesterday. We got 36 community comments to that email. I won't say how many were yes or no, because from the community it was pretty split. But 15 of those comments were from classroom staff, and well, I think one was from a non-classroom staffer. 15 were from staff in elementary school in our district, and 100% of them wanted us to vote no because of the position of elementary school in this ordering, and not the negative impacts on them. Yes, maybe one or two teachers said that they have an after-school job. That's not who we're considering. We're considering the teachers that are saying that their students are challenged to learn after 1 or 2 o'clock, that academic time, that we have this time that's longer than the required time for the state standard. But if we're wasting it on time that our students can't focus, that our students can't behave, then that's not quality time. I just don't want to ask for a change that benefits high school students on the back of elementary school students, which I worry that this current proposal does. In terms of, sorry, I've been talking a lot, give me 1 second. In terms of middle school, there are some benefits. The number one takeaway that I'm seeing for middle school being in the first slot is their access to extracurricular activities. I have an issue with scheduling our school start times based on middle school students who will not have their sleep needs met, so that a subset of students who participate in school-based extracurriculars can have those needs met. 7th and 8th grade athletes have inter-school play, play against other districts. 5th and 6th graders, we can schedule for our times within our district, and I would argue that in the way that other schools, currently elementary school, has extracurriculars beforehand. I know my child is at Kinwood for bucket drumming, for chorus, for student council, and I have her up and out the door early in the morning. And I think that it makes sense that if we're positioning this for sleep needs of students, that we can let the students who want to participate in extracurricular activities elect to limit their sleep to benefit that. If we're scheduling late runs, why can't we schedule early runs? I also wanted to point to one thing that was cruised by pretty quickly in the presentation, which was that when students go from 4th grade to 5th grade, with middle school first and elementary school last in the ordering, those students will go to school 80 minutes earlier after that summer break. 1 hour and 20 minutes earlier from elementary school to middle school. That is unacceptable. So after this, I'm going to be proposing an alternative motion to reorder the start time proposal. Thank you.
Ms. Garrison? Thank you. while the existing proposal is perfectly imperfect, as a mother of a teen who has to get up at some ungodly hour to get on a bus at 6:40 in the morning, it's absurd to me that we're still going around and around and around and around and around on the same issue. Health is more important than anything. Your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health. It trumps everything, including grades, as far as I'm concerned. And I don't think we're listening to what's really happening in the world, where students, young people, are suffering all over this country. And we could do this one thing in this district to make a difference for many of our children's lives. My son was in kindergarten when I first discovered that people were coming to work at 7:30. I was shocked. I was like, what? Because one of the high school teachers, her daughter was in his class. And I'm like, you have to be to work at 7:30? That's ridiculous. And I thought to myself, well, surely by the time they get to high school, it will have changed. And it has not changed. And so I feel like what's going to be different between now and 2024? That's what I feel like. Why are we continuing to kick the can down the road? I'd rather us make a decision, go forward with the one that we had to do it 2023, and then work out the imperfections, because there's never going to be a perfect.
Hi, everybody. Thank you all for coming tonight, and thank you, everybody, for all of your input. It's been so helpful. Now, I want to tell you, like, I remember my first day of my teen, who just graduated last year's first day of school, vividly. I drove her to school, which I would continue to do for the next 4 years so she could get just a little bit more sleep. And on that first day of school, she was late because we were in a traffic jam caused by an accident involving a Lower Merion High School student right in front of the school while driving to school. To me, the Healthy Start time is extremely important. Like many of you said, we thought by the time our students got to high school, they would be done. It would be later. And like many of you also said, I don't have any more. I don't have a child in the district anymore, but I'm still passionate about our high schoolers need more sleep. And we have the well-being of all of our students is important, and I understand that. And any plan, but any plan that's research-based evidence that reports it shows the physical and mental health and reduces tardiness and absenteeism is a plan I support. And while this plan is imperfect, we've all talked about how we want to tweak it more. And I think that's what we need to just, we need to look at getting the elementary school time down below 4. I mean, until 2013, it started at 9:05 and got out at 3:35. Those of us who went through that time, we adapted fine. We need to support those with it for ability for care before school. We need to support the teachers and staff through the transition. I have worked in many different places, many different universities, and when we had a big impact in transitions, you had people who came in and helped you through that transition, because nobody likes change. And I support I believe some of the tweaks we could use is prioritizing students who have longer rides to get the buses that arrive first, especially if you're in different tiers. So from my perspective, I don't see why we're waiting another year. We're going to continue to tweak the plan. I would like to see it start in 2023 and keep tweaking it and make it better for all grades. Okay, thanks.
So I just want to clarify some things that were said. The 2019 plan still had kids ending at 4:05. So that wasn't a different plan in terms of end times. And it had the elementary kids starting school at 7:45, and logistically it just wasn't possible to get that start time later. So I understand there's tweaking that could happen, potentially some minutes saved here and there, but I don't want to characterize it as bullying, but I was moved by the, I guess, ferociousness of the feedback from the elementary parents of that 2019 plan. So I personally, I'm not that curious about moving back to that scenario. I think the current plan, the 4:05 end time is problematic. The 9:20 start time is problematic, but less so. There are options, and certainly there are some things that the district could do to mitigate that. I would support moving forward with the current plan with some tweaks, perhaps. I've talked to the district about some slight modifications of the start times that we could possibly end the elementaries at 3:55 without too much dramatic shifting of any of the tiers. So, starting in 23, starting in 24, I would support both. But if we could start it in 23, I would be fine with that.
Thanks so much. So it's been great to hear from my colleagues. It's also been great to hear from all of you. And I really appreciate you, sir, last person from Princeton, that it's not a binary. Mr. Solomon, if it was a binary, I'm sure you would have resolved it already. And rather than take a threat, us modeling how we actually have conversations and ask questions is equally important to me through this process. That's what I've been incredibly moved by. So first and foremost, I absolutely think that start times are a priority. You might see me on the corner at 6:40 getting my own child on the bus. You might actually not see me there, but when we missed the bus because of my difficulties getting her to that stop, I'm in my pajamas at Penn Valley being yelled at or having things thrown at me, right? And I'd say this anecdote just to give color to the situation that's very real. It's a priority and it's not a binary, and there are issues that are at hand for all of our constituents, whether we value them or not. The circumstances are not the same as they were previous to COVID. While sleep is still a mental health issue, there are a myriad of other challenges, scientifically based, and that specifically are impacting students that are not incorporated in the current plan that we have got to prioritize in our district, or we will all be worse off for it in the future. We so quickly have forgotten the work that our educators have done through COVID and post-COVID to transition middle schools, not only buildings, but in full schedules, in full staffing, in full academic schedules, and with materials, and how challenging that has been, not only for them, but for students and also families. And I don't think that that can be negated when we think about what we are asking the district to implement in FY23. Students are absolutely our priority. That's why all of us do this work. None of us have just been sitting by the wayside, especially through this most recent issue. And also us understanding, asking questions, learning from each other, and making sure we're doing the most responsible implementation of plans and protocols, especially 20 years in the making, is important. And so for me personally, I absolutely support the change for FY24 in the current order, mitigating for the circumstances that we heard loud and clear across the continuum.
Thank you. I wanted to also address some of the comments around having middle school last and why I think it's important not to do so. One is the importance of extracurricular activities, and I'm not talking sports, I'm talking Science Olympiad and theater and all those other things, because we know that engagement outside of the classroom really helps with belonging, and we know that belonging is so important. It impacts students emotionally, sort of mental health, but it also, we know that an improved sense of belonging in the school also long-term impacts academic success. And I think having those opportunities for our middle students is really, really important. Regarding the suggestion for the busing, I would be concerned if we had a later middle school and then those activities became optional in the morning. We cannot provide before school busing. The only reason we can provide after school busing, which is a really amazing thing that our district offers that many, many don't, is because those after school runs happen, late runs happen after the school runs happen. So the only way to provide before school busing, if we're, because no matter what, someone's starting on the earliest, by 8 o'clock at the latest, someone is starting. We're going to be picking up for early runs at 6 a.m. to get the kids at school to 7 so that those buses can then do the regular school run starting at 7. And I think it's a real equity issue for families that can't walk across the street to school to drop off their kids for activities and perhaps don't have cars. I know in years past, sometimes HSAs would try to offer carpooling. I did that for years when my kids were at Penn Valley to offer students whose parents didn't have cars and don't live close enough to walk to get their students to a once a week, before school opportunity. So I think it's really important from an equity issue standpoint that we not dismiss the importance of having middle school first. So would anyone else like to add some comments?
I would agree with that. I mean, I think it's really important to have extracurricular activities and certainly not have them at 7 o'clock in the morning. I mean, and plus it would not work logistically with the bus route. So it would have to be after school.
So I completely understand what you're saying, but the point of what we've been hearing is the top priority is sleep need. And to my mind, prioritizing that for all adolescent students is my priority in the proposal I'm going to make. And so I move to reorder the bell schedule for Lower Merion schools such that elementary school begins first, followed by high school, followed by middle school to be implemented fall 2024. Board approval for specific timing will be required to be voted on no later than the October 2023 regular business board meeting. I'd like to add that if any of my colleagues feel strongly about the implementation year, I am open to amendments.
Is there a second?
I second.
I'd like to do a roll call vote.
Okay. Peter Lee?
Wait, what?
Shane is.
Would you like me to read it again?
No.
Okay.
So,
No.
you're against? Okay. Suba Robinson?
Against.
Shayna Kalish?
I vote in favor.
Melanie Schaffmeister?
Against.
Kimberly Garrison?
Against.
Anna Shorak?
Against.
Curry Sautner?
Against.
And Lucy Klein, sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, sorry, Sean. I have to do Sean first. Sean?
4.
Yes. I'm sorry, Lucy Klein.
Against.
Okay.
So the motion does not pass. I would like to put a proposal under consideration. Sorry. That we authorize the district administration to move forward with implementation of the following proposed schedule beginning in September 2024, with the middle day beginning first, high school day beginning second, the elementary school day beginning last. That proposed plan to be reviewed with updates to with the public on both May 8th and June 20th to review modifications recommended to mitigate the following issues. The late end time for elementary school to be not past 4 p.m. Early supports put into place for families of elementary school students. The potential for middle school to possibly start slightly earlier to ensure that no school ends after 4 p.m. And mitigation supporting educators in these transitions with choice and agency and voice to help with the planning and implementation. Do I have a motion to second?
Second.
Can we take another roll call, please?
Sure. Ms. Robinson?
We're voting on 24.
24.
I'm against that. I'd like to vote for 23.
It's just yes or no. You can't have
No.
a speaking objection. You just,
Okay,
yes or
no.
no.
Thank you. Ms. Kalish?
Yes.
Ms. Schaffmeister?
No.
Mr. Mooring?
Yes.
Ms. Garrison?
Skip me for a second.
Ms. Shurak?
Yes.
Dr. Sautner?
Yes.
Ms. Garrison?
I'll hold my nose for 24.
Is that yes? I'm sorry. Thank you. Mr. Lee?
Well, seeing as how the decision's made, I guess I'll vote yes for 24.
And Ms. Klein?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, the motion passes. So we heard loud and, do you mind if I read that? Okay. We heard loud and clear for the community that we needed to implement this plan. We also heard loud and clear the undue burden on families of working parents and guardians, elementary school learning, and life impacted by the late end of the day, and the negative impact on educators. We value everyone in our community and hope to come to a compromise to support our community, educators included. I think someone gave me a quote that said, "To implement is critical, to implement without mitigation is unwise." We're going to move forward with the rest of our agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the rest of the agenda tonight via consent?
So moved.
Second.
Second, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Yes,
Do I have
so moved.
A second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
You have to say yes.
Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry. Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes. Mr. Roos, can you please give a report on the Sunshine Act?
Yes, the board met in executive session prior to tonight's meeting regarding a matter of litigation, which was the settlement agreement was on the agenda under facilities for the Harrington High School stormwater basin case. There was also an item regarding a confidential personnel matter, and then there was...
I'm sorry, can folks please keep their voices down until they're out of the room? The meeting isn't over yet, thank you.
And a discussion regarding a real estate matter, which was the agreement that was regarding 1850, which was on the agenda.
Thank you. Our upcoming board meeting dates, which will be held at 8 p.m. here in the DAO. In the boardroom, April 10th is the Education Committee and Supplementary Regular Board Meeting, and April 17th is a regular business board meeting. Committee meetings will be held in the boardroom, live streamed and recorded, starting at 8:30 a.m. unless noted otherwise. Due to the upcoming spring break, both the April Curriculum and Policy Committee meetings will be held at the last week of March on the following dates: March 29th for Curriculum at 8:30 a.m., March 31st for Policy at 8:30 a.m. Also, on March 29th is the next communications meeting at 7 p.m. via Zoom. April 13th, it's a Thursday, it's the Facilities and Purchasing. April 19th is the first Finance Committee meeting working on the budget for the year. And the currently scheduled April 26th Equity and Anti-Racism meeting is being rescheduled and moved to early May. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.